cute in the way that only blue-eyed blonde toddlers can be. It was little Beth who gave me a nickname that would stick with me for life. Arnold was a hard name for her to say. To her, it sounded like Anu. Everyone in my family found it funny. One day, Grandma Jane was visiting when 4-year-old Beth ran up to me, hugging my leg. "Anna, Anna," she called out, laughing and hiding behind me as my sister Peggy looked for her. Grandma didn't hear well. She turned to my mom and asked, "Why does she call him Honor?" That name stuck around, turning into a family joke. We had a big family, Irish and French Catholic. There were 14 aunts and uncles, 3 grandparents, and 58 first cousins. They all had regular names, 6 Jameses, 3 Williams, 3 Roberts, 2 Donalds, 4 Marys, 3 Janes, 3 Margarets, 2 Jennies, 2 Jeans, and many shortened versions of their names like Jimmy, Jack, Jr., Trey, Billy, Will, Bob, Robbie, Don, Mare, Janie, Peggy, Marge, and Jen. But there was only one Honor. It was ironic. The same sweet little girl who gave me my nickname would grow up to take away the last bits of that same joy from my heart. But I should explain more. When I was 14, she was 9. My dad was called up with many others to serve in Kuwait during Operation Desert Storm. He was part of a water purification unit stationed in Saudi Arabia, away from danger. After weeks of training, he came home for a short visit before leaving. On his last day, he took me for a walk. "Honor, I'm not sure how long we'll be away. It could be a year. You need to be the man of the house now. Take care of your mom and Peggy. She'll need your support. She's never been alone before." I couldn't fully understand the weight of his words, but I thought it was not a big deal. I was a teenager, almost 5'10". I felt more like a man than a boy, even if I was still smaller than Dad. "Sure, Dad, we'll be okay. Your mom will move back to Bettendon so she can be with family. You'll stay in the old cabin." I was surprised. I was just about to start high school. Leave? My friends, my school, my team, how could I? But I had no choice. The decision was made. At the airport, when Dad was leaving, I was still angry and didn't hide it. He pulled me aside. "I know this is hard. Sometimes life is. I'm counting on you, son. I know you'll make the right choices. Be there for your mom and sister. Be strong." He placed his big hand on my shoulder and squeezed. "I'll be back soon." For Peggy, it was an adventure. For Mom, it was a chance to reconnect with family. For me, it was a difficult time. I loved the small town where most of our family had lived for many years. The rural setting, the open air, and the closeness of everyone felt comforting. But I was being pulled away from the future I imagined for myself. "It's just a year," I reminded myself. For Beth, it felt like the end of everything. She was heartbroken, often crying, and always nearby. It was clear she had strong feelings for me. I used to find this sweet, but now it only felt sad. When it was time to leave in our packed family van, it took me a while to gently pry her arms off me. I lifted her up and hugged her tightly. She wrapped her thin arms around my neck, holding on as if she couldn't let go. She kissed me on the cheek, tears in her eyes. "Please come back, Honor," she pleaded. "I will, BB. I promise. We'll all be back soon." Dad was right. He returned faster than we expected. Just 6 days after we had arrived in Dhahran, tragedy struck. In 1 week, a missile hit their base. History tells us that many lost their lives during the Gulf War. For our side, the conflict seemed distant, almost without cost. But that doesn't matter if you are one of those who were lost or part of their families. We returned to Greensburg just to clear out our house and put it up for sale. We met with other families from Dad's unit. There were plenty of tears and a lot of sadness. Beth was caught in a whirlwind of feelings. She was happy we were back, but also heartbroken that it wasn't for good. Losing Dad was incredibly hard for me. Little Beth was the only thing that helped me deal with my sadness. She was just a kid, but whenever I felt down, she would find me, climb on my lap, and just be there with me. She was my anchor. I was 14, she was 9. I was forced to grow up quickly, and she lost her innocent view of the world. Leaving was painful. This time she didn't come to hug me or kiss me. She stood away, tears running down her face, looking at me with a mix of anger and hurt. She hugged my sister and Mom, but for me, she stayed 3 feet away, shaking and trying to catch her breath. I stepped closer, but she took a couple of quick steps back. "Goodbye, Honor," were her last words before she turned and ran, her legs moving fast and her hair flowing behind her. Goodbye, BB. I was 19, and she was 14. I had good grades and test scores that would let me get into many colleges. Carnegie Mellon was one of the best, and I could receive almost all of my education covered by scholarships and grants, with only a little bit in loans. The scholarship from the local VFW really made a difference. I was heading back home. After high school, I took a year off to work for my uncles, saving money for my family. Mom worked too. The pay wasn't high, but together with the money from Dad's passing, we managed to get by. In a small town like Bedenton, finding a job was tough. A lot of people traveled over an hour to work in the nearby city. It had been 5 years since I thought about Beth. For the first couple of years, I kept to myself. I spent most of my time in my room reading books and playing sad songs on my dad's old guitar. I would call some friends and talk with BB about school, but without seeing each other, our connection started to fade. Eventually, the calls happened less often, and I moved on. I built a new life with cousins my age who felt like siblings, along with good friends from school and baseball. I even had 3 girlfriends. The latest one, Annie Marshall, taught me a lot during our time together. I was sad to leave her behind, but college was coming up. As I drove to Pittsburgh, I thought about the lanky 9-year-old who had a big crush on me. I promised myself I would look her up. But that was easier said than done. Living on campus meant I didn't have a car. I had to grow up quickly, taking my education very seriously. I felt responsible to do my best for myself and my family. I might have seemed too serious to some, but I did manage to make a few close friends, or so I thought. I was speeding ahead of where I wanted to be. Ben let me borrow his car for the weekend, as long as I filled up the tank. It was about a 30-minute drive to my old neighborhood. I felt nervous as I walked up to the door and rang the bell on that Saturday morning. It was funny how some moments stay in your mind. She opened the door and I recognized her instantly. 5 years had changed a lot. She was pretty, taller now, with her long hair and those bright, captivating eyes. "Honor?" she asked, a bit unsure, looking up at me. I had changed too, growing taller and stronger. I stood at 6 2 inches and weighed 210 pounds. People said I looked just like my dad, and my height balanced out my build. Without hesitation, she jumped into my arms, wrapping around me tightly. "Honor!" she exclaimed, her happy face lighting up with joy and slight tears in her eyes. I laughed and hugged her back. "Miss me, BB?" I teased. I walked into the house I remembered so well, with Beth holding on to me like a little monkey. Her mom was in the kitchen and looked up in surprise. "A little help, Mrs. D?" I asked playfully. She laughed and rushed around the counter, hugging me tightly. "You're back?" she exclaimed. She helped me gently loosen Beth's grip, her hands touching my arms and shoulders as if checking I was really there. "I'm going to school in Pittsburgh," I told her. I shared that I went to Carnegie Mellon. We enjoyed a good lunch together. I updated them on family news, and they did the same. I was glad I came when I did because they were planning to move soon. I was surprised to learn they were just changing neighborhoods for a better school for Beth and to be closer to Mr. D's job. If I had waited another month to visit, I might not have seen Beth again. If only. I spent the whole weekend with them. Beth and I revisited familiar places, and it felt normal to walk together. She was 14, growing up fast, and already very pretty. I felt proud being by her side, and I noticed people smiling at us as we walked. I didn't have much money, but I spent a lot that weekend. I stayed in the guest room, and I wasn't too surprised when she came into my room late at night. We just talked. I was 19 and she was 14. I cared for her and told her how much I had missed her. We shared a sweet kiss, as if it were our last moment together. I noticed how she was growing into a young woman, but I remembered she was still a kid. She was just starting high school and I was in college, so I kept my feelings in check as I held her close. We felt comfortable together. I loved Beth. I always had. I believed that one day she would be mine. I was 23 and she was 18. We spent weekends together at least once a month. The first 2 summers apart were tough for me after leaving her behind. My family wanted to know all about my life, and I told them everything. My relationship with my mom was special. We were very close. We shared dreams and thoughts. She often talked about her life with my father. I think she saw a lot of him in me. When we watched movies, she would sit close, and I would put my arm around her. We often kissed sometimes more than friends, but less than romantic. It felt natural, not strange. I cared for my mom deeply, and we supported each other after losing Dad. There were nights when I would stay with her, offering comfort when she felt down. I saw that she was a kind woman, but she was also my mom. I would reassure her, reminding her how much I loved her and that I would always support her, keeping my promise to my father. I wanted to make him proud, and I always tried to do the right thing. It guided my actions. Peggy and I were also close, but our relationship was different from with Mom. We had the usual sibling dynamic, teasing, annoying each other, and sometimes arguing. We cared for each other even if we didn't say it often. That summer I stayed in Pittsburgh to take classes and work at an internship. I had a car and spent all my free time with Beth. We were a couple, more connected than any other pair I knew, even though we weren't romantic in the usual sense. I often sang for her, made silly songs, and played music just for her. She loved it. I can still picture her sitting at my feet, looking up at me with her big blue eyes, clearly showing her affection. If I picked up my dad's old guitar and didn't play a song for her at least once, she'd give me a disappointed look. I never needed her to ask. I understood, and I ended every little performance with my music telling her I cared. I took her to the senior prom, and she looked amazing, tall, beautiful, and captivating, the prettiest girl I knew. I went all out, renting a limo, taking her to a fancy dinner, and dancing with her and her friends. Later, we went to a hotel. It was our first special night together. I hadn't had many romantic encounters before, but none compared to my time with Beth. I was gentle as we explored each other, fascinated by our connection. We talked about our lives and dreams, sharing secrets and hopes. When we kissed, it felt right, and we moved closer together. "I have hoped for this moment," she whispered, and we shared something wonderful that felt timeless, a moment just for us. "I love you so much," I said. "It's incredible." She smiled back. "I've always loved you, Honor." I held her close. "I know." "Promise we won't be apart," she said earnestly. "Never. You're mine, now and forever." We were young and full of dreams, discovering each other in a special way. The night felt endless, filled with joy and wonder. It was clear to me that we were meant to be together, two souls intertwined. The next day, I took her home just after noon. She had told her mother she wouldn't be back, and I felt a bit nervous, but it didn't matter. We were clearly a couple, and it was obvious what we had shared. The fact that we barely slept for 3 hours didn't help at all. I shifted uncomfortably in my seat as she went to her room to change, leaving me alone with her parents. Mrs. D felt sorry for me and sat next to me on the couch. She played with my hair gently. "Relax, Honor. This was bound to happen. You've been meant for each other since she was 4. I think everyone saw it except you." I turned to her father. "Mr. D, I want to marry your daughter." I spoke quickly so no one could interrupt me. "I'll be graduating soon, and I have several job offers lined up. I love her, and I promise to take care of her and give her a good life. I know there's a big age difference, but we are in love." He smiled at me. "Son, I can't think of anyone better for my girl. You have my approval, and I appreciate you asking." My eyes filled with tears as I turned to his wife. She wrapped her arms around me and kissed my cheek. "Of course, Honor. Treat her well. She is still young and has lived a sheltered life, so just be patient with her." "I will. I would wait longer, but I just can't. I hate being away from her." She nodded. "That's good. Soon you won't have to be apart at all." I was 24 and she was 19. Our wedding was a celebration of a lifetime. Beth's father did well for himself, and she was an only child. I had a great job near New York City and was on a clear path to success. She was studying in the city. Although we didn't live together, we spent every weekend together. I still lived at home with my extended family, and she blended in seamlessly. My relatives adored her, and she felt the same. Her parents covered the wedding costs and didn't mind that we had over 200 guests from my side alone, most of whom were family. We held the wedding in our small hometown of Badenton, a place with fewer than 3,000 people not far from the New York state line in Connecticut. It seemed unusual to visitors, with a few families making up most of the community. There weren't many hotels, but we were family, so anyone with an extra room welcomed our guests. My mom let Beth's family stay at our home for the long weekend and moved in with her sister. We set up large tents, and Uncle Patrick, or Father Patrick as I should call him, came in from his diocese to marry us in front of family, friends, and God. Everyone kept telling us how good-looking we were together and how lucky I was. Beth always insisted she was the lucky one, gaining not just the best partner but a wonderful family. It was easy to see how much she was loved. She looked beautiful, captivating. I imagine any man would stop and stare when she was near. Some might feel a bit jealous of the attention she naturally received just by being the incredible person she was. Not me. I knew better. Without a doubt, Beth had eyes only for me. Her smile would brighten the room whenever I walked in. My cousin Fred would tease her a lot. When I first arrived in Bedenton, he would make fun of my accent. He could imitate me perfectly. After BB joined us, he became even more relentless. He would sneak into a room where Beth was and call out to her. She would turn around, beaming, until she saw who it was. Everyone found it amusing, except for Beth. Once she mentioned it to me, I made sure it stopped immediately. People often joked that she had the same effect on me. I never argued with that. She was mine now, and I would love her, care for her, and protect her. My family supported me. With them around, she felt safe and truly cherished. The party lasted 2 days. We postponed our honeymoon to Niagara Falls so we could celebrate with family and friends who had come to join us. Weddings are so busy. I remember little beyond our first dance, our vows, and that special night together. I recall getting on stage with the band to sing Beth for her. I was a bit dazed, but even so, I can still picture her sitting at the edge of the stage, my sister helping her adjust her gown, and BB looking at her with such fondness. I remember getting to our suite, helping her with her dress in a flurry of excitement. She laughed as she tried to manage all the fabric. In a light-hearted moment, Beth joked that Peggy, her maid of honor, needed to do a better job managing the dress. The laughter faded quickly as we shared sweet moments together. Beth looked beautiful, and I felt lucky to be with her, as she had chosen me to be her partner in front of everyone that day. It didn't take long for us to connect deeply. I'd been looking forward to this moment all night, and my excitement was overwhelming. I was proud to be with my new wife, who I considered the most wonderful woman in the world. We enjoyed our time together and savored the moments we created. We arrived late to the barbecue the next day because Beth needed to change her outfit twice. She loved bringing it up with a smile. I was 24 and she was 19. I felt like the luckiest man alive to have married my soulmate. Fast forward to when I was 28 and she was 23. 5 of us cheered loudly as she walked to the podium to accept her MBA. We had been there a year earlier when she graduated with her bachelor's degree, and I was so proud of her achievements. It was amusing to think that I hadn't fully realized how smart she was when we were growing up. She was just the little kid next door, not anymore. Beth had her own fans, her parents, Mom, Peggy, and her loving husband. We cheered loudly until our voices were sore. We had plans and were ready to make them happen. Finally. I found success in business. A big part of it was simply luck. I worked on systems for energy-efficient homes, and during one project I had a creative idea. It was new territory for me, so I asked a few family members to help. We tested our idea at my house, and by the end, I had 3 patents to my name. I gave 2 of them to the company I worked for, which led to promotions and bonuses beyond what I expected. With my family's full support, I decided to take a risk and start my own business. After almost 6 years at my old company, where I left on good terms, I moved on. They had greatly benefited from my work, and my new business, while in a similar area, was different enough that it didn't compete. In fact, it created more work for my former bosses, who were happy to send some projects my way. My name and reputation helped me greatly. Some customers might have thought Honor Energy was tough to work with because I wanted to cover every detail of each project before signing any contracts. However, the upside was that I always delivered what I promised. No budget issues, no delays, and quick support after the work was done. This earned me repeat customers and new clients from recommendations. I was good at business, but I was really an inventor, always looking for ways to improve things or solve old problems. My 3rd patent helped me close many deals, and my 4th opened new avenues. I hired my family because I trusted them completely, and their commitment ensured they worked hard and stayed loyal. I ignored the saying about not working with family. I thought I knew better. I was mistaken. She was 23 and I was 28. I hired my clever wife to handle the finances, which I didn't like. I employed 11 family and friends. My business was thriving and I had to work hard to manage its growth. I became the third largest employer in our small town, bringing in more outside money than any other two businesses combined. We didn't have a lot of cash because I reinvested my profits into the business. But I had something more valuable: the respect of my peers, the trust of my customers, the love of my family, and the best partner I could ever ask for. My life felt perfect and was only going to get better. Beth graduated, marking the end of a chapter in our life together. No more studying. We would work side by side to grow our business and, even more importantly, our family. During her graduation cruise, we found ourselves spending more time together in our cabin than we did on deck. We rekindled our connection, which had grown a bit cooler due to starting a business, being apart, and completing 5 years of college. It wasn't anything serious, but we both noticed it. We were luckier than many. We always talked openly about our feelings and worries. We recognized our issues, discussed them honestly, and tried to handle them as best as we could during those early years. Beth graduated without any student loans. I had been running my own business for over a year, and most of the toughest challenges were behind me. I no longer carried all the worry and risk alone. We were partners in life, love, and business. I was 28 and she was 23. 2 weeks after our second honeymoon, I found out I was going to be a father. I was 33 and she was 28. Our life seemed perfect. At least that's what I thought. My business had grown to over 50 employees, most of whom were family. We were respected in the community, bringing in money, visitors, and other business opportunities. Beth was fully part of my family, and our 2 young children, Marie Carol and William Billy Arnold, were happy and well-loved. Life was busy, as expected. After Marie was born, Beth cut back her working hours to care for her. After Billy arrived, she decided to stay home as a full-time mom. She was still involved in my work, offering support and inspiration, and helped manage our finances. The growth of the business kept me very busy. To be honest, I was overwhelmed. I needed to provide for not just myself, but also for half of my family. Since Beth was only working part-time, I took on many of her duties. I was traveling more, even going overseas sometimes to meet with our suppliers. I not only ran the business, but also devoted many hours to my inventions. I entrusted much of the daily operations to my cousin Fred, who had worked on my earlier projects with me. When I first moved here after my dad passed away, Cousin Fred was one of the close friends who helped me settle in. We had been best friends since I was 14. He was smart, hardworking, and reliable, even if he liked to joke around a lot. I knew I could count on him to make good decisions for the business, and he played a big role in hiring since he knew everyone so well. Beth and I lived comfortably, but not extravagantly. Her car was a bit nicer than most, while I drove a 5-year-old Ford F-250. Our house was custom built on the edge of town with many great features, but it wasn't a mansion. It was a little over 3,500 square feet with a 3-car garage and a nice yard. There were no tennis courts or swimming pools, just a lovely home on a scenic lot. We could have lived in a nicer place, but we were happy living simply, surrounded by family and friends. Life was good. Our marriage was strong, and although work and our young children kept us busy, we shared a special bond. We didn't have time every day, but we found moments together 3 to 4 times a week. Beth looked more beautiful than ever, and whenever we were alone, my feelings for her grew stronger. On a Thursday night, just 3 days before my business trip to China, we had put the kids to bed. She came into my study wearing something new from her recent shopping trip. Leaning against the door frame, she asked, "Will you be long, dear?" I closed my laptop. The work could wait. I smiled and walked towards her. She laughed and ran towards our bedroom, and I followed her eagerly. I caught up with her and playfully pulled her onto the bed. We laughed together as I teased her, feeling happy and close to her. The mood shifted, and soon we were caught up in each other. Before long, it was hard to resist our feelings for each other. We spent time together, sharing whispers and laughter. After a while, we took a moment to gather ourselves, and I wrapped my arms around her, feeling the warmth between us. When we finally relaxed into each other, it was as if nothing else mattered. We were lost in our connection, enjoying every moment until the world outside faded away. After a while, we decided to change things up, and she playfully shifted positions, bringing more excitement into the room. We lost ourselves in joy and laughter, completely enjoying our time together. I held her close, feeling her weight on my chest as she caught her breath. She breathed heavily, and I gently touched her arms, glad that her outfit was still okay after our time together. "That was amazing," she whispered, her lips brushing against my shoulder. "You always amaze me," I replied. She looked into my eyes, serious for a moment. "Are you happy, Honor?" Her question caught me off guard. "I'm very happy. I have a wonderful wife, 2 lovely kids, a thriving business, and the respect of everyone around us. What's not to appreciate? You're away from us a lot. I thought things would change for the better and we'd spend more time together." She was right. I kept telling myself that once the next big project was done, I would make more time, but it never turned out that way. "Are you happy, BB?" She gave me a small, sad smile. "I'm content, I guess. Happy enough." "What does enough mean? What's bothering you?" I asked. "I miss you. When you're gone, working late or out before dawn. I know you do it for us, but I want more of your time. We haven't had a moment just for us in ages. We haven't gone on a vacation in 2 years. I hugged her tightly. "I'm sorry, you're right. I'll do what I can to make time for us." "Can't someone else go to China? Why is it always you?" "I wish someone else could go. Last time someone else handled it, things didn't go well." "Make Fred go. Isn't that part of his job? He can finally earn that big paycheck he talks about." "Fred keeps everything running. He is busy managing the day-to-day operations, and I don't think this is something he could handle alone." She looked annoyed. "Why does it always have to be you? You make the big choices. You bring in the clients. You keep everyone satisfied. If no one here can take the job, find someone who can." I turned her gently and kissed her softly. "I'm so sorry, BB. Your happiness means everything to me. You know that, right?" "In my heart, yes. But sometimes my head doubts. When I see other husbands coming home for dinner while I wait for you, I wonder. When I'm alone with our kids in the house, I wonder. At parties when you're not there because of work, I wonder." I covered her face with kisses, playfully tickling her until she laughed. "You don't need to wonder. You mean everything to me." "Promise?" she asked, her eyes wide. "I've been yours since we were young. You know that." She laughed softly, playfully teasing me. "Everyone knows." With her warm body close to mine, I felt a spark of energy. I shifted slightly closer. "Just give me a little more time. Things will change. I have several projects to wrap up. Let me finish this trip, finalize these last few deals, and then we can take a 2-week getaway anywhere you want. Just you and me." "You're trying to sweet-talk me," she said with a smile as she leaned back. "I am. I want this as much as you do. I care about this town and my family too much. They need to be independent. I can't support everyone. I promise to cut back. It's already in the plan." She reached over and drew me closer. "Show me love, Honor." I embraced her, moving gently, holding her close, making sure she knew she was my focus. I felt confident making those promises because they were real. I had 2 new inventions in progress. Our most important one would be expiring in 3 years. I was in talks with a major company to sell it for a good amount of money. One of my new inventions would do a better job and give us another 7 years of protection. I had spent the last couple of years training Fred to take over the business side gradually. It was a slow process, but I would always support him. I was meeting with the VP of Business Development from my old company. There had been a new leader, and he was exploring his options. He would join me on this trip for what felt like an extended interview while getting to know our 2 key suppliers. The company involved in the patent deal was also sending a team for their own review. This was a trip meant only for me, but that was about to change. I was starting to let go a bit, spending more time doing what I loved and less on business matters. Most importantly, I could work more from home and have a balanced schedule. I wanted to spend quality time with my family, my children, and the love of my life. The trip went well. It was tiring, but very productive. The VP needed 4 weeks to finish things up where he was and wanted a few extra weeks to be with his family. I shared all the details and what we could offer. He would receive some stocks if he stayed with us for at least 5 years. I told him to discuss it with his wife and gave him a week to decide. I joked that I didn't want to rush him. I wasn't considering other candidates for the role. It was a big choice, and he needed to ensure his family was on board. The patent transfer was nearly complete. I was told they would have a final meeting to finalize the deal on the Thursday after they returned. I was getting ready to sign the papers on Friday, or at the latest, the following Monday. While we were in China, I found out that my most important patent had been approved. This meant my company's future was secure for at least 7 years. Everything was going well for me. When I got back, Beth treated me like royalty, just like she always did after a trip. On Tuesday, she even sent the kids to stay with my mom for the night so we could enjoy some time together. I really wanted to tell her everything that was happening, but I decided to wait until the patent was officially transferred and Gil had accepted the job. She could tell I had something on my mind and was eager to know what it was. Beth playfully teased me, wanting me to share my news. We were in the living room and she was close, making it hard to concentrate. "Come on, I know you have something to say," she encouraged. I tried to steer the conversation. "Remember our last talk about finding more time for the family?" She smiled, clearly interested, then asked, "So, what's the news?" I replied, "Things are coming together, but nothing is final yet. Just give me another week and I promise I'll tell you everything." She grinned, teasing me as she leaned closer. "Maybe I'll wait a week to get the full story then." "Will you trust me?" I asked. "Always," she replied with a smile. "Just 1 week," I assured her. Beth's birthday was coming up on Monday. While I was away, I had arranged for a surprise party with the help of the family. I had a feeling she thought my secret might be related to her birthday, so she was patient. The birthday party on Saturday went really well, though I doubt she was genuinely surprised. It was difficult to keep secrets in our town, really impossible. Still, she acted surprised when about 50 close friends and family surprised her as she returned from a shopping trip. Her parents were also a surprise. I had flown them in for the weekend. I even brought along 2 of her best college friends. She thanked me over and over that night, and the next morning, so much that I thought I might go a little crazy. She spent Sunday morning with her family and friends. I took her parents to the airport where they showed great appreciation for the visit. Meanwhile, Beth spent the afternoon catching up with her girlfriends while I took a couple of hours to get some work done, hoping to find a better balance between work and family. I was 33, and she was 29. My world came crashing down. On Monday, I went to the city to finalize an important business deal. There were 3 agreements to sign, but one was the most significant. What I thought would take all day ended up being done in less than an hour. There were no surprises, no last-minute issues. I signed the documents and received a check with 7 digits. The first number was a 2. The patents were owned by Honor BB LLC, the company I created before I had my first patent. I was the only owner. We decided to license the patents back to them for 6 weeks to pause our use. I even transferred the designs and software that made everything work. They were happy. I was thrilled. I drove straight home to share the good news with Beth. There were cars in the driveway, but that was normal. Beth loved to host, so there were often visitors, but finding Beth in the living room with Fred while his brother was sitting nearby was completely unexpected. She was having a moment with Fred, her back to me, moving to the music from the stereo. The TV was playing something inappropriate, and Dale was sitting close by. It looked like my cousins were giving her an unusual birthday surprise. "Happy 29th birthday, Beth." I wasn't interesting enough to get their attention. I stood there for a few seconds in shock, unable to think clearly. They weren't talking. There were no harsh words about me, just silence. My life felt like it was falling apart. I stepped back outside and closed the door. I didn't take pictures. I had no desire to. I didn't go in to confront anyone. It was clear she was doing what she wanted. In a daze, I walked slowly back to my car. I thought about going back in and confronting them. I wondered how long this had been happening and how they managed to keep it hidden in a small town. Mostly, I wondered how they could betray me like this. My wife, my best friend, the mother of my children, my business partner. Forget Dale. He was single and alone. Fred was married with 3 kids. They had shattered my life. Doubt gnawed at me. There were no secrets in Bedenton. I picked up my phone and called my mom. "Mom? Hey, Honor. How's things in the city?" "Good. I'm on my way back. I couldn't reach Beth. Do you happen to know where she is?" Without pause, she replied, I think she's with Peggy getting a makeover. She left the kids with me. When will you be back? I'll let her know when she calls for the kids. Panic rose in me. Never mind, I'll surprise her. I have some big news. Mom responded quickly. That's wonderful. Can you at least give me a rough idea of when you'll be home? Have you left the city yet? My heart raced. In a small place like Bedenton, it's hard to keep things private. I worried that Mom might be involved in something shady. My own mother. Yeah, but I need to take care of a few things before I see her again. It might be a while. Mom sighed with relief. Just be careful. I hate you driving into the city. I'll give the kids a kiss for you. After hanging up, I made a quick decision. I opened the side door to the garage and raised the garage door carefully so the opener wouldn't make noise, even though I doubted anyone would hear it. In less than 5 minutes, I punctured the gas tanks of all 3 cars. It was simple. I just had to place some nails under the tanks and lift them. I took a can of gas and poured it between the 3 cars, 2 in the driveway, and Beth's in the garage. I grabbed a spare propane can and opened the valve between Fred and Dale's cars. Then I turned my vehicle around, left it running, and took a flare from the emergency kit. I lit it and tossed it into the gasoline. I jumped in the truck and drove away. I was hardly 50 yards down the road when the explosions began. I felt sure no one would be hurt. The garage was separate from the house. If I was lucky, the fire would spread to the main building. Even if it did, Fred should have enough time to get away. While heading to work, I called Gil. I regretfully told him the company might close down and that he should reconsider the VP job. He had many questions, but when I mentioned I wouldn't be part of Honor Energy anymore, he understood. I promised to send him a check for the time he spent working in China, and assured him that if I started something new, he would be among the first people I'd bring in. I saw my sister's car as I drove up my street, which made me doubt my mother's and sister's involvement less. A volunteer fire truck passed me, the one donated to the town by Honor Energy. When I arrived at the warehouse, I ignored friendly greetings and walked straight to my office. My cousin Jill, who worked as our admin, asked if everything was all right. No interruptions, not for anyone. Understood? She nodded nervously and closed the door. It took about an hour to transfer what I needed. I had offshore accounts that handled most of our international business. They served as a tax shelter, keeping international money out of the country. I moved the funds into another account for Honor BBLLC. I called our 2 biggest customers to apologize. I explained that we wouldn't finish their projects and that I was stepping down for personal reasons. I spoke with the CEOs of both companies, addressing their anger and disappointment, and assured them I would return all their money. Roger Hammond from Hammond's Luxury Homes was tough to convince. He was one of my first customers, and I thought of him as a friend. After a long conversation, I agreed to provide him with the materials he could only get from us. I also promised a bit extra just in case something went wrong. I would personally make sure he got the designs and any important information needed to finish the project through another company of his choice. "Honor, it's me," he said carefully. "What's going on? This isn't you. You would never back out of a job." "I won't be working here anymore," I admitted. "I just can't. It's personal." "Personal issues don't matter," he replied sharply. "You're the best at what you do. You can't let some small problem ruin your work." I chuckled softly. "Small problem? My right-hand man is involved with my wife." "No way, Beth. She looks up to you. Someone must be lying. You need to find out the truth." "Maybe you're right. Why should I trust what I saw? I only walked in on her with him in my living room while his brother waited outside. My mother and sister aren't around to help her out, making excuses. What was I thinking? I should check again." He paused for a moment. "I'm sorry, Honor. I can't believe it either. If you need anything, please call me. I mean it. You can talk to me anytime." "Thanks, Roger. I appreciate it. You're a great customer and an even better friend. Sorry to burden you." "Forget that. Your life comes first. Do what you need to do. Make sure you call me soon. Visit if you can." I felt emotional. This man was offering support, while my mother, sister, wife, and best friend were letting me down. "I will. I need to go now. There's a lot to do before the sheriff arrives." I began to worry about why I hadn't heard from Uncle Luke, my dad's brother. He was quiet again. "I understand. Good luck, and I'm really sorry you're facing this. Call me when you can." I contacted the company lawyer, and after some effort, I reached the main attorney. I explained what I needed and turned down all his questions. He was hesitant at first, but eventually agreed. I pushed for a quick turnaround, telling him I needed everything by the end of the next day, and I would pay an extra $10,000 if it was ready on time. He promised me they would find a solution. What I was asking for was quite clear. I had finished my tasks, and unexpectedly, no one had called my phone. I stepped out of my office, and Jill quickly ended her call, looking guilty. "No calls for me?" I asked. She shook her head. "No, sir." "All right. Tomorrow at 11 a.m., I want a company-wide meeting in the warehouse. Everyone must be there, no matter their shift or what they're doing. Anyone who does not attend will lose their job. Please arrange it." She looked shocked, but nodded in response. I got into my car, turned off my phone, and drove out of town. I bought some new clothes and personal items, checked into a nice hotel, ordered room service, and thought about what I would do next in my life. I woke early after a restless night of dreams where my wife was unfaithful with people I knew. My mother and sister were also in my dreams. They were at the factory, and Beth was part of the assembly line where men came by often. During her break, my mom took her place. I felt sick and couldn't eat, but I managed to finish a few more tasks, which made me feel slightly better. I arrived at the office a bit late, riding my new motorcycle. I guess it was an early midlife crisis. I felt like the money I spent was worth it, and it was time I treated myself. Fred was waiting at the entrance along with my mom. I parked my motorcycle on the sidewalk and took off my helmet. I could see surprise on both their faces. My mom stepped toward me, but I raised my hand. "Not now. We'll talk later." She stopped with her mouth open in shock. Fred walked beside me. "Don't say a word, Fred. Don't do anything hasty on her," he tried to warn me. I turned and punched him, catching him off guard and making him step back. I said, "No words, Fred." I walked into the warehouse, ignoring the greetings, and stepped onto the platform. The room fell silent. There was a microphone set up, but I didn't need it. About 50 people were present. I recognized everyone in the crowd. I had interviewed and hired each one. After a moment, I turned to Jill. "Aaron and Misty are let go. They will get 2 weeks' pay, plus 1 week for each year." Jill looked shocked, but nodded slowly. "Is there anyone here who is unsure why I called this meeting after last night?" I asked loudly. Some people murmured, and about 10 raised their hands. I pointed to the side. "If you would step over there, I'll make sure you're informed after this." I gestured to my assistant to take care of them. It took a moment for them to move. "Great. I have a simple question for all of you. I expect complete honesty. I think I deserve better. I've always tried to treat everyone here with respect, like friends." A few people murmured and nodded in agreement. "Who suspected or knew what was happening with my wife?" My Uncle Jack stepped up. He was one of my first hires and managed the floor. "Are you going to fire them?" I shook my head. "No one else is being let go, not even those who caused this. I just want honesty now. Is there no respect among any of you?" Uncle Jack moved closer. "I believe most people had some idea, but nothing clear. No one wanted to hurt you. We were hopeful she would change her ways. We didn't want to damage your marriage. Why don't we talk about this one-on-none?" I turned away from him. "I'll ask one more time. Who suspected or knew what was happening?" Almost everyone eventually raised their hands. It started slowly, including Uncle Jack, but soon nearly everyone had their hands up. Jill and Annie Lane were among them, but few could meet my eyes. "Thank you for being honest. I wish it were different. If someone had informed me privately, maybe we could have resolved this. But I can't work with people I see as disloyal or untrustworthy." Uncle Jack appeared to take charge. He was always kind to me, so his betrayal hurt deeply. "You promised no one would be fired," he said firmly. "I did. As you all know, or I hope you do, I keep my promises. I'm stepping down. My wife now owns the business. You have enough funds to keep things running for at least 4 months, maybe 6 if you manage properly. Fred is now in charge. I wish you success." The room filled with noise, becoming louder. I had made my point. That was supposed to be the end, to walk away with dignity. But I couldn't. Forget what I just said. I've never lied to you, and I won't start now. I am angry with all of you. If even one person had done the right thing and stood by me instead of betraying me, things would be different. You've created your own problems. I hope the business struggles just as I am today. I wish you all the worst for what you've done." A thick silence followed. I looked down at Uncle Jack. "Jack, My office. Then I turned to Jill. Find Fred and send him to my office too. If he isn't here in 10 minutes, Bill will be in charge. Send him. Uncle Jack followed me into my office. He began to speak, but I interrupted. This isn't up for discussion, Uncle Jack. I used to respect you, but that has changed. You let me down just like everyone else. This is business, and we won't discuss anything else. Do you understand? After? He asked. Maybe. I have other things to take care of. Just don't ask. He nodded quietly. We waited a couple of minutes before Fred showed up. He had a swollen lip with some tissue stuck in his nose. I almost smiled. Sit down, I said. Honor, it didn't mean anything, he started. You have to. Stop talking and sit. Don't make me come over there, I interrupted. He sat down. Today is my last day here. Fred, the company is yours to manage while I'm away, unless Beth decides differently. I'm handing everything over to her. His surprised face was something to see. I'm giving all the financial responsibilities to Beth. She understands the business. She will manage the accounts. You'll be in charge of daily operations like sales and marketing. Jack, you're still in charge on the floor. You're here because there are some important changes to discuss. He nodded. Honor Energy can no longer use the conversion controller assembly starting 6 weeks from yesterday morning. We don't own the patent or the rights to the firmware anymore. You need to find another solution. Uncle Jack looked shocked. What other solution? That's the core of our business. That's not my issue anymore. You can't make those assemblies starting 6 weeks from yesterday. If I were you, I'd focus on producing as much as you can in that time, even if it means working around the clock. Get the materials you need, pay what it takes, then figure out how to replace it later. Uncle Jack nodded slowly, thinking about it. Carlisle is no longer a customer. Stop producing for them. Hammond's isn't a customer either, but we will send them the materials I promised. I took a paper from my desk and handed it to Uncle Jack. Take it from inventory. Deliver it to Roger Hammond's in person within 3 business days. I'll handle it, Uncle Jack replied. Good. I turned to Fred. Everything you need is in this envelope. I handed him a sealed envelope. I'll work with Beth to finalize the business transfer, but she's already managing most accounts. I just need to remove my name and give her limited authority. You have enough funds to keep the business running. There will be challenges ahead, but perhaps you can tackle them. Maybe not. That's your responsibility now. I stood up and left the office, ignoring Uncle Jack's outstretched hand or Fred's questions. I got back on my motorcycle and rode to see the remains of the home I had built for the one I cared for. All that was left where Fred's and Dale's cars had been was twisted metal and charred ground. The garage was nearly gone, collapsed onto Beth's car. The fire had caused a lot of damage to the side of the house near the garage, but thankfully it had been kept under control. A crew was working on fixing the damaged entry and laundry room, and they were boarding up broken windows. I stepped inside the house, surprised there was no police tape or anything like that. The place was empty, and as I walked around, I thought about what I could take. Sadly, all I came up with were pictures of my kids. I picked out one photo of each child and one of me holding both of them from a photo album. I left everything else behind. I was starting fresh, and I realized how little I actually needed. I regretted throwing my phone away in a fit of anger, so I stopped by a store to get a cheap disposable one. I called my mom. Honor, where are you? We need to talk, she answered, sounding worried. I'll come over at 7. Make sure Beth is there. Thank goodness. You'll talk, right? It's not a joke or revenge, is it? No, we can talk. Please make sure her kids are there too. They're here now. You can visit them if you want. They really miss you, and they don't understand why they can't go home or why you're not there. I'll see them at 7. I hung up. I went back to the Harley dealership. They had finished putting new tie-downs on my truck and showed me how to use the motorcycle ramp. I drove my bike onto the truck, packed the ramp back in, and stopped by a store for a few things, ignoring the whispers behind me. When I returned to the office, my papers were waiting, delivered earlier than I expected. Jill had them and handed them to me. Is there anything else I can help you with, Mr. Nolan? I shook my head, my expression cold. No, I think you've done enough, Jill. I thought you would be loyal to me. Tears filled her eyes. I really thought I was doing the right thing. Nobody wanted to see you and Beth split up. We tried to talk to her, I promise. I believe you. But you should have spoken with me, taken my side. You betrayed me like everyone else. I don't care about most people, but it hurts coming from you. I won't make that mistake again." She sat down and cried as I turned away, papers in hand. I stopped at a diner to eat, not feeling like having dinner at my mom's. I was going there for business, aware I would have to listen to excuses and apologies, but that was it. I would let them say what they needed, then handle my own matters. My cousin Emma brought me an open-faced roast beef sandwich and fries, then sat down across from me. "Take her back. Forgive her, Honor. It doesn't have to be the end of everything. She made a big mistake, but everyone knows how much you two love each other." "I'm eating, Emma. I don't want to talk about it." "Come on, Honor, we're family." "We care about you both. You need to resolve this," Emma said. I put my fork down. "No, Emma, I really don't have to. I've gone through a failed marriage with a woman whose feelings I can never be sure of. I have 2 kids, and now I'm not even sure they're really mine. My mom and sister have turned their backs on me, and friends who I thought were loyal sided with her, leaving me alone. I don't have a family anymore. If you can't let me be, I will walk away." She stood up, looking upset. "You are still family. You don't get to choose that. We care about you." I didn't feel like answering. The fries on my plate were pretty tasty. I got a bit annoyed when another family member sat down across from me. "Honor," he greeted. "Uncle Jimmy." I took a bite of my fries. He looked nervous. "I don't mean to meddle. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. Sorry I didn't tell you what I knew." I raised an eyebrow. "What did you know?" He shrugged. "She was acting inappropriately for a while, flirting with Fred more than was right, especially at parties. He was all over her, and she didn't stop him. When you went on that trip to the West Coast, there were rumors that she spent a lot of time with him at your place. It was just gossip, but it seemed serious, and I should have said something then." He took a deep breath. "I can't believe I didn't say anything. During your trip to China, things were even worse. He missed work frequently, and they went out for dinner a couple of times. People noticed them holding hands, too. Jean asked me what was happening, and I shared my worries. She yelled at me about it. You know she doesn't see things the same way as everyone else around here." He looked at me, tears brimming in his eyes. "I feel so embarrassed, Honor. I really do. Embarrassed for the whole town. You helped me when I needed it, better than anyone else did. You hired me and promoted me twice, even though I don't have much education." I nodded. "You've earned those promotions, Uncle Jimmy. You're smarter than many of those with degrees, and you're reliable. I've never had a problem with your work." He shook his head. "I understand the difference, Honor. No issues with my work, but I let you down as a person. I'm sorry." He covered his face with his hands and said, "You're helping my kid through college. You do so much for kids like him, and yet no one told you what was happening. How can I face my son and say he can't continue his schooling because I, like everyone else here, didn't do the right thing?" "Don't tell Stephen anything. He hasn't done anything wrong. His scholarship is still good, fully funded from the beginning. He can finish his degree. I believe he will be a great engineer." Uncle Jimmy wiped his eyes. Well, that's all I wanted to say. You do what you feel is right. Forget the rest. I'm sorry I didn't act as I should have, and I will always regret it. You deserve so much more." "Thank you," I replied sincerely. He stood up, pausing briefly. "Honor, I've known you a long time. I've never heard you tell a lie, not even a small one. I heard what you said to Emma. Don't start lying now, even to yourself. You know that woman loves you, always has and always will. Whatever's happening now, it's not because she doesn't care." I shot him an angry look. "Is that all?" He nodded. "I'm sorry for interrupting your dinner. I hope one day you can forgive me. I truly hope that before that, you'll find a way to forgive her, for your own peace." Somehow the fries on my plate weren't appealing anymore. It was hard to step out of the truck and walk to the front door. In some ways, Mom had hurt me even more than Beth. We had always been so close. We could talk about anything. But she had betrayed me by supporting my unfaithful wife. What happened to family loyalty? I didn't know how to forgive that. I wasn't sure I could or that I wanted to. I rang the doorbell and waited. After a moment, Mom opened the door. "Why did you ring the bell?" she asked. "I wanted to come in and talk," I said, hoping she'd invite me in. She looked at me sadly. "You're always welcome here. This is your home too." "Not anymore. Not after this." She looked hurt. Are you coming in? Or will you stand there all day? I turned to leave. We can talk another time. Mom ran after me, grabbing my arm. No, we need to talk now. I pulled my arm away. Mom, you no longer have the right to tell me what to do. You need to understand that. When you can be respectful, we can talk. Why are you acting this way, Honor? This isn't like you. You're better than this. I'm not pretending. I'm tired of her, you, and everyone else in this town. I just want to wrap things up and move on, away from this place. I walked toward my truck, but she stepped in front of me. What about your children? Don't you want to see them? Of course I do. I will. But if you or anyone tries to keep them from me, I will do whatever it takes to get them back. She looked at me in shock. Why are you so upset? Why am I upset? I was ready to explode. My wife has been unfaithful, my best friend is involved, and my mother is protecting her. Everyone around me knew and is supporting her. Why wouldn't I be angry? Calm down. You don't want your children to see you like this. There's more to this than you realize. Please come in. We need to talk. You have to give her a chance. I don't have to do anything. I turned around and walked back to the house. I'll listen. Then you will. I'll spend time with the kids. That's all. She walked beside me. Please try to stay calm. No shouting. Beth is having a hard time. The kids are upset. Let's not make things worse. I laughed a little. Sure, it's hard to make it worse, isn't it? As soon as I got inside, little Marie ran up to me. I lifted her up and hugged her tightly. Billy was walking unsteadily toward us, still figuring out how to walk. I picked him up in my other arm, holding both of my children. At least I hoped they were mine. Daddy! Marie squealed. Mommy's sad! You have to fix it. That had been my role for as long as Marie could remember. If anything went wrong, Daddy would fix it. I wasn't sure I could fix this one, or even if I wanted to. I felt like disappearing if it wasn't for the two kids I was holding. I'll see what I can do, sweetheart. She kissed me on the cheek. When can we go home? Soon. Daddy has a few things to do first, but you, Billy, and Mommy can go home soon. You too, Daddy. You too. No more leaving, she insisted. I couldn't answer her. I didn't have one. She wouldn't understand. I sure didn't. I set them down and noticed Beth standing nervously nearby. As the kids played on the floor, she walked over to me, but I raised my hand to stop her. You wanted to talk. I'll listen. That's all. She nodded, and my mother spoke up. Let's talk over dinner. I made my roast. I expected that. A little bribe. Her roast was my favorite. I already ate. Peggy peeked out from the kitchen. Well, that's perfect. Didn't anyone think to tell him about dinner? Mom turned red. Why don't we go into the living room? Peg, can you feed the kids? My sister sighed in her usual way. Sure, why not? It's not like I'm family. I settled into the armchair while Beth and my mother sat on the couch. I took some papers from my back pocket, straightened them out, and placed them beside me. I'm listening. Beth looked at me, then at Mom. Mom nodded to her, probably trying to prepare her. I have no excuse. None. I've been foolish. You need to know I love you more than anything, and it hurts what I've done to us. Fred means nothing to me, and Dale even less. I stayed quiet, waiting to hear what she had to say, even though she claimed she had no excuses. I was with him 3 times. The last time was a mistake. It was never meant to happen. I was trying to end things. I can't explain why it happened that last time. After our talk, I knew I couldn't keep going. The first time was when you went to California. The second time was during your last trip. I didn't want you to go. I was afraid of what might happen if you did. I begged you to send him instead. Do you remember? Is that all? I asked. She looked around nervously, as if expecting someone else to step in. I wasn't thinking clearly. I don't love him. I don't even like him much. He kept pursuing me, saying you were with someone else. I didn't believe him. I always knew you wouldn't do that. He was always complimenting me and trying to get closer. I don't know why I finally gave in. It felt like I wasn't even myself. It was foolish. I missed you, and he was just there. I waited for her to continue. What will you do now? She asked sadly. I'll never do anything like that again. I promise I'll spend my life making it right. We can move past this. I know you love me. I love you more than anything. We'll be okay, right? I shrugged. I'll be all right eventually. I don't know about you. I have one question. Are the kids mine? She looked shocked. How can you even ask that? Of course they are. I'll need proof. Please take care of that this week. I turned to my mother. What do you have to say about your part in this? She looked surprised. What part? I just want to help you both get through this and find a way to forgive each other. I laughed. Forgive each other? What does she need to forgive me for? For the mess you created, for leaving her so often, for not addressing it when you found out, she replied. How long did you know about this, Mom? How long were you hiding it? Mom turned red. I wasn't hiding anything. I was trying to help. How long? I pressed. Why does it matter? It's over. She won't do that again. How long, really? I raised my voice. If you can't speak respectfully, you need to leave my home. I stood up and threw the papers at Beth. Sign these. Don't change anything. I'll call you with details on where to drop them off. I faced my mother. I can't stand what you've done to us. It's worse than what she did. You betrayed me, your own son. I don't think I can ever forgive you. Dad asked me to care for you so you will continue to receive financial help. But other than that, I don't want any contact with you. I turned to leave. Mom yelled, Don't walk away. We still need to talk. I'm done with this. Just sign the papers. Don't call or write. I don't want to talk to any of you. Beth was crying. Mom was shouting. The kids were upset. Peggy followed me outside. Please don't leave like this. You said you would listen. I didn't slow down. I did listen. Beth told me what I already knew and gave me no reason to trust her. And Mom wouldn't even tell me the truth. How long have you two known? She didn't hesitate. From the start, before it even happened the first time. We told her that what she did was not okay. She said it was nothing, just some light teasing. She wanted to get your attention and make you feel jealous. We tried to stop her. We got really upset and yelled at her after she did it. She felt awful about it and promised it wouldn't happen again. But 2 months later, she did the same thing after saying it was all over. I got into my truck, and Peggy got into the passenger seat. I said, Get out, Peg. I don't want you here. You took her side. You can stick with her and all the others who betray me. Of course we stood by her. We knew coming to you wouldn't help. The only way to fix this was to help her. Besides, people would back her up. Nobody really likes you, Honor. We care about you, but honestly, most can't stand you for long. I don't see how she does it. I looked at her and said, Leave. I don't want you here. I don't need any of you. She shook her head and said, No. They had their turn to talk. Now it's my turn. I started the truck and drove off. Where are you going? Peggy asked angrily. To my hotel, away from all of you and away from this mess. I suggest you get out soon. It's a long walk back. You always have to be so tough, Honor. You never change. Can't you see that's your problem? You act like you're so honorable and fair. People may trust you and respect you, but mostly they're afraid of you. That's not true. Nobody fears me, clearly. You remember Cousin Robbie? You let him go for using drugs on the job. I did what was right. Using illegal drugs at work is wrong. To you it is. But he's family. You could have given him a warning or a second chance. You chose to let him go. I didn't let his wife go. I gave him some money to help him. I even offered to help him get into rehab. He was just smoking a little. That's enough. He knew better. He could have waited until he got home. I cannot accept that. What about Trey and Lisa? What about them? I didn't let them go. I probably should have. No, you told everyone about them. You put them on unpaid leave and told them to fix their issues at home. You made it clear that if you saw them acting inappropriately at work again, you'd let them both go. I had to. We could have faced trouble for allowing romance at work, especially between a boss and someone who reports to her. No, you could have talked to them nicely. You could have warned them and told them to keep things private. Instead, you made an example of them. I didn't say anything. The month without pay spoke for itself. They shouldn't have been involved in the first place, especially not at work. I even made it up to them by giving them a little extra in their holiday bonus. I guess you always side with those who act badly now. First them, and now her. You're right, of course. You're always right, Honor. They broke the rules. They had to face the consequences. You couldn't treat them like family or try to help them. You ended one marriage and created a huge mess. I didn't cause anything. I didn't do anything wrong. They did, and they got caught. There are always consequences. Of course there are. With you, there always are. Are you surprised that no one told you about your wife? No one wants to take your side. They're scared. We all have our mistakes, everyone but perfect Honor. We all care about Beth. She's more family than you are. She listens, she helps, she's always there. You have your business and nothing else. I guess that won't be a problem anymore then, will it? She looked at me. What does that mean? You must have heard. I don't have the business anymore. It's hers now. Hers and Fred's and the rest of you. I quit. She owns it. Fred can run it. Let them figure out how to keep it going. Let them manage this family and everyone else in this town. I'm done. It's fine if nobody likes me. I don't like them. Her voice shook as she turned to face me. What did you do, Honor? I told you. I quit. I'm finished. I don't need this anymore. I didn't love the job. I did it for all of you. For her. For family and this town. I gave people good jobs. Better than many in the industry with great benefits. Who else provides full family health care at no cost? I helped their kids go to college. I supported them when they needed it. I brought in a lot of money for this town and they turned against me. All of them. Well, forget them. And forget you. I'm done. You can't do that. What are you going to do now? Who will keep things running? Fred can't. You can't just walk away. I can and I did. Everyone says I let work get in the way of my marriage like I wanted that. Well, not anymore. No job, no family. It's much easier this way. This is foolish. You love the business and you love Beth. You can't just leave them. I never loved the business. I love creating. I did everything else because someone had to, and no one else did it well. I did love Beth. That's in the past. Now I feel anger about what she did and how it affected us. I can leave. I am leaving. I know you're upset, Honor. I understand. You should take some time, think about things. Go on a trip or something. Clear your mind. You can't just ruin your company out of anger. You can't walk away from the one you love and 10 years of marriage over a mistake. I'm not ruining my company. It's still there. I just won't be letting it take over my life anymore. Let someone else take charge for a while. I don't have to be the tough guy anymore. I don't have to think about payroll or where the next job will come from. It's not my worry how to keep our business successful. I won't lose sleep, stressing over whether each project finishes on time or meets the quality we need. That's not my issue now. Let someone else handle it. My sister was quiet until I parked in front of the hotel. You're going to hurt all of us because of what she did, aren't you? It's not enough to punish her and Fred. You want to ruin everyone. I'm not doing anything. Besides, any one of you could have stopped this 2 months ago, even a week ago. But nobody seems to care enough about me. Not a single person. Why should I care about any of you? We're family, Honor. Your family. Not anymore. I opened the door. I'm going to my room now. I don't care what you do. You're not taking me home? Of course not. I told you that, and I keep my promises. Get a cab, walk, or call someone. I don't mind. You mean nothing to me now. You betrayed me like the others. You helped break my marriage just like the rest. We tried to save it, she insisted. Well, I hope you do a better job running the company than you did saving my marriage. I left her by the truck. I didn't feel great about it, but I didn't feel too bad either. She was 29, I was 33, I was on my own. My sister Peg was right about one thing. I did need to get away. I needed some space. I went for a drive. My first stop was Roger Hammond's. I spent most of a week with him, sorting out business matters and talking about my life and what had gone wrong. He told me I couldn't run away from my problems. I agreed. I was just taking a break because I was too upset to be around anyone I knew. I promised I would go back soon. Roger and his wife listened well. They didn't blame me or make excuses for anyone. They asked simple questions that made me think about people's motives, but I couldn't find a way around what they had done to me. Roger asked me to keep in touch, and I did, calling at least once a week. I also talked to Anna just as often. They had become good friends. I spoke to Beth every day. I asked if she had signed the papers. She told me she never would. I would end the call. By the end of the week, I called again. Did you sign the papers? Please, Honor, talk to me. Did you sign the papers? I'm not going to. Payroll is in 2 days. If you don't sign, you won't be able to take control of the company or pay anyone. Over 50 people depend on their paychecks to cover their bills and put food on the table. More than 200 lives will be affected, including children and spouses. Sign the papers. Why are you doing this to us? Don't you love me anymore? I will always love you. I can't handle you right now. Just sign the papers, Beth. I ended the call. The next day, I heard from the lawyers. She had signed. The separation was official. The company was now hers. She controlled all the accounts. I called her. I always blocked my number so she wouldn't recognize it. Thanks for signing the papers. Did you take the DNA test? What? Of course not. That's crazy. You know they're both yours. I don't know anything. I thought you would never be unfaithful. I thought you loved me. Now that I know you've been with at least 2 other men, I have no idea when it started. Just do the test. I won't. I never cheated on you. I told you everything. Everything, huh? Yes, everything, she insisted. 3 times? You were with them 3 times? 3 times with Fred, twice with Dale. 3 times. He was with you 3 times? Dale twice? She was silent. I didn't say that. What does with them mean, Beth? I was with them. We were together. 3 times. 5 if you count Dale. 3 times with Fred. No, we didn't do it more than once each time, except the last. Dale didn't even do it the last time. So, what was it, 2 or 3 times each visit? Why do you keep asking? It doesn't matter. I made a mistake, yes, and I regret it a lot. Let me make it up to you. How many times? How many times did he spend the night? I don't know. I didn't keep track, she said softly. Just guess. That first time when I was away. 3, 4, how many? Why can't you let it go, Honor? I messed up, okay? No, you didn't just mess up. You were with Fred. I want to know how many times. Maybe a dozen, maybe a bit more, she finally confessed. Really? Fred was that active? A dozen times in 1 week? Over the whole week, maybe 3 or 4 times a day once it started? Oh, now I see. When you say you cheated once, you mean you cheated many times, but you're counting it as just 1. I thought you studied business. Counting doesn't seem to be your strong suit. What do you want from me, Honor? I was with him several times that week. Is that what you wanted to hear? Then 6 more times when you were away before Dale joined us, plus a few more with both of them, and 1 time with just Dale. That's not what I wanted to hear. I wished you were faithful to me, but it's nice to hear you starting to be honest if that's what it is. Do you see why I can't trust you? Now you're saying you were with Fred about 14 or 15 times, and 5 more times with Dale. At least 6 if you weren't interrupted. I thought about what she said. Wait, you said 5 times on that first trip, but you mentioned him being with you many times. I guess when you say time, it means more than 1 occurrence. Let's say 2, to keep it simple. That would mean around 40 times you let those guys be close to you. That doesn't sound like 3, does it? No, it's not just 3. I thought of it as 3. Twice you were away and I made mistakes while you were gone. Once more when I told them it was over. A final goodbye then? Very thoughtful of everyone except your husband. Ask the kids, Beth. It was just them. I told you. You have to trust me. The only thing I trust is that you're not being honest, and you seem to struggle with numbers. Ask the kids. I ended the call. A quick stop in Nazareth, Pennsylvania led me to the Martin Guitar Factory store, where I explored the museum and took a factory tour. Before my job, I used to play guitar. I wasn't great, but I always had one fan, Little Beth. She could sit and listen to me play for hours. I don't know why I stopped playing after college. I hadn't touched a guitar in years. Martin guitars had always fascinated me, especially the old ones. I never owned one and wasn't sure if I could play it well. On a whim, I picked up a backpacker acoustic. It was a small, oddly shaped guitar, but it had a nice sound and was easy to carry on my bike. At under $200, I felt I could have some fun with it without worrying too much if it got lost or damaged. Next, I went to Philadelphia for a real steak and cheese sandwich, and to visit Independence Hall, the Liberty Bell, and the Philadelphia Museum of Art. Like Rocky, at the top of the steps, although I wasn't in the mood for celebration. I had lived a few hours away for much of my life, but had never been there. Just a few places I had always wanted to visit. I never imagined I would be doing it alone. From there, I went to see Beth's parents. I thought it would be the right thing to do. They were surprised to see me. What's happening, Honor? Why aren't you home? Beth hasn't told us anything except that you left, Carol, my wife's mother, asked. I was hoping she'd explain. I didn't think it was my place to say. She didn't. You're going to, right? Her father asked. She's not been honest with me. No way, Carol snapped. Someone's misled you. I chuckled. Why do people keep saying that? I walked in on her with two men in my own home. You didn't actually see them, did you? There must be some mistake, Dave said. I saw them, and there was no mistake. I walked in on them. I wish I could forget that moment. It haunts me almost every night. Why? Carol asked. What happened? Are you being unfaithful? I shot her a hard look before replying. She should know better. At least she had the sense to blush and look down. No, never. Honestly, I was just trying to make our life better. Maybe I worked too much, I don't know. I never betrayed her. I didn't hurt her or neglect her. I thought we were happy until I found out. It was just once, right? Just one slip-up? Dave asked. No, it was 3 months. She was with others the whole time I was away. She admitted to 20 times. She probably counts a week of non-stop cheating as just one time. Everyone in town knew, even my own family. They covered for her. Carol looked upset. Oh no, this must be hard for her. I laughed bitterly. It's not helping me either. And what about your business? Dave asked. It's hers now. I gave it to her. She's with my cousin who used to help me run it. He's in charge now. I just want out. Carol stood up and came back with a bottle of scotch and 3 glasses. I could use a drink. Anyone else? I took one. Just one. I didn't like to ride my bike after drinking. You're going to fix this, right, Honor? Carol asked. You know she cares about you. There must be a reason for what she did. If there is, she hasn't told me. I spoke to her afterward. She had no excuse except that he pursued her and she gave in. About 40 times. And the kids? How are they dealing? Dave asked. Billy is too young to understand. Marie thinks I'm on a trip. They will be okay. They're young. What do you mean they will be okay? Carol snapped. You're not leaving them, are you? I'm not sure what I'm doing. I don't even know if they're mine or how long this has been going on. I asked her for a DNA test, but she won't do it. That says a lot. You can't really believe they aren't yours, Carol said. Not deep down. Why won't she take the test? I reminded her. She shouldn't have to. I shrugged. She shouldn't cheat. She shouldn't lie. She shouldn't betray me with my best friend multiple times. She made a mistake on her. People do, even Beth. Don't doubt her love for you. If she says the kids are yours, trust her, Carol insisted. Carol, that's enough, Dave said softly. You know it's true, she shot back at him. I know nothing for sure. She lied and betrayed. She didn't tell us what was happening. I wouldn't have thought this of her, but I guess it's true. You don't think Honor is making this up, do you? She shook her head. No, I don't believe that for a second. Then she turned back to me. Please, go talk to her. Don't let her mistakes ruin everything. I can't, not yet. I need her to stop lying to me and prove those kids are mine first. I'm really upset right now. It's not a good idea for me to talk. Last time I lost my cool, things got really bad at home. There are 3 burnt cars sitting in my driveway. I'm worried about being around her or anyone else right now. Carol looked shocked. You can't just leave her like that, can you? You won't help the kids until you know if they're yours. She can take care of herself. I gave her everything, our money, the business, the house. I only kept a small part of the business cash for myself. Right now I'm out of work, but I have one last check from selling a patent that can help if I need it. She has much more than I do. What are you going to do now? Dave asked. I'm going to ride my bike. I need some time away. I wanted to do a lot of things with her, but that feels impossible now. I just need to clear my mind and let the anger fade a bit. When I come back, I don't know what I'll do yet. Dave nodded. That sounds reasonable. Carol didn't seem convinced. David Daniels, how can you say that? Do you want him to go back, get into a fight and hurt her, destroy everything? You have no idea what he might feel like doing, he said, sounding angry. He wouldn't do that. Not him. He loves her. That's why he left. I respect that part, but giving her everything? That's another story. I would have been much tougher. But she's your daughter, Carol complained. I'm not talking about my daughter. I'm talking about a husband who thought his wife was loyal. Have you ever been unfaithful to me, Carol? How can you ask that after all these years? No way! How do you think I'd react if I found out you did with my best friend? And everyone knew except me. She was quiet. I felt a bit uneasy. What if I went to Vicky's place and was unfaithful with her? Not just once, but many times over a month. What if everyone knew and kept it a secret? How would you feel? She looked scared. What if it was not just Vicky, but her sister too? What if you walked in and saw me? How would that make you feel, Carol? Would you forgive me just because I said I loved you? I really want to know. Please stop it, Dave. Just stop, she cried as tears streamed down her face. Leave him be. He needs some space. Our daughter has made a big mistake. I love her, always will, but she's hurt me. I can't understand how much he's hurting right now. What about her? Don't you think she's struggling too? He's her whole life. I'm sure she is hurting, but she is responsible for this. No one forced her. She made her choices. Carol nodded through her tears. I want to go see her. I need to be there for her. Understand why she did it. I opened my wallet and counted out $500 bills. It's on me. Maybe you can figure this out. We can handle this. You don't have to spend your money, Dave said. Please, Dad. I want to. Maybe she can help clarify things. I'm sure that Beth can use the support. She's probably having a tough time right now. Maybe you can encourage her to have the kids tested. I really would like to know if they are mine. Give me a reason to return someday. I'll try, Carol replied. Dave looked as troubled as I felt. The mood had become tense. He sighed, glanced at his wife, and turned to me. Son, I can't tell you what to do. The truth is, I can barely wrap my head around it myself. I can only suggest that you take some time to cool down and think about it. Then you will face a difficult choice. Ask yourself if she, the kids, and 10 years of marriage are worth the effort to mend things. I know it will be hard. Remember, that girl loves you. She has adored you since she was little. He sank down, his head in his hands. I don't understand. How could she? It doesn't make sense. I know. I keep asking myself the same question. Why? I left soon after that. We didn't have much to talk about, other than things nobody wanted to discuss. How could you tell my parents I was unfaithful? Did you have the kids tested? I asked, taking a break from hiking the Appalachian Trail along the Shenandoah Valley Ridge. The views were incredible, and it was something I had always wanted to do. She and I had talked about it many times. My father won't even speak to me. Next time, think before you act. Did you have them tested? No, I told you that's crazy. I hung up on her, lifted my backpack, and continued hiking. Hiking was good for my mind. I enjoyed the quiet, and the solitude was perfect for thinking. The first 2 days were tiring. I spent a few hours walking with others I met along the way, but wasn't great company, barely speaking and addressing them in single words. A couple of college girls stuck it out for half a day, even camping near me away from the main shelters. I was sitting around, playing some sad songs on my little guitar, when they joined me. They sang along to a few songs, and I played a couple of requests for them. Their attempts to talk more were met with silence, and any hints they gave for a closer evening were gently brushed aside. They left early the next morning without saying goodbye. No, I wasn't very good company. I was taking a bus back to where I had started my journey over a week earlier. It was mostly empty, so I didn't mind the unfriendly looks I got while I tended to my blisters. Not the best way to break in new boots. I called her. Hello? Her voice still sent shivers down my spine. Hi, Beth, it's me. Did you get the kids tested? Please call your mother. She's really getting on my nerves. No, I mean the kids' tests? Yes, yesterday. We should know the results in a few days. Is your mother there with you? Yes. Thanks for covering her expenses. She wants to talk to you. I'll call her. Give me her number. She shared the number, and I wrote it down. I didn't want to keep it in my phone. I felt too anxious and tossed away numbers every few days. Are you coming home? She asked. Not yet. I'll let you know when the results are in. Take care of yourself, BB. Suddenly she was crying. I love you, Honor. I know I never said it before, but I'm so sorry. Please come back. I'll call in a few days. Tell your mom I said hi. I ended the call before I lost my composure. It frustrated me how she still had that effect on me. 3 weeks for her to express regret. Now she felt sorry, not when she was with others in our home. I suspected this new regret was mainly due to Carol's influence. It took me 5 days to reach the Keys. In Key West, I found a scuba shop that could certify me in 4 days if I passed the written test. I had just completed my dive and was enjoying some time with a drink, listening to Jimmy Buffett songs and soaking up the sun. I wasn't in the mood for upbeat songs. I was trapped in my thoughts, opting for songs that spoke of escape. Yeah, in that kind of mood, I decided to make another call. Carol Daniels, she answered. Hi, Carol. Honor, is that you? Good guess. How are you? Could be better. Some things are hard to take. I understand. Are the kids mine? Yes. We knew it was likely, but I've seen the results. They're very positive. She had to use your hair, you know. A normal sample would have worked better. I provided one at the start. It was included with the initial papers. I guess she discarded it. She never mentioned it. Are you coming home now? Not yet. How's everything there? Beth is really struggling. No surprise there. Your mother and sister aren't doing well either. You should call them. No, they chose her over me. They didn't see it that way, Carol replied. I do. She didn't argue. The entire town is in chaos. Your company is facing issues. No new business is coming in, and there are problems with current clients. Everyone's taking it out on Beth. That's not my concern. They all turned their backs on me. I could have left them all behind, but I didn't. No one blames you. It's like the saying goes, you don't know what you've got until it's gone. They need you, Honor. Your wife needs you. Your kids need you. Even your mother. The whole town needs you. Please come back. I will. Not just yet, but soon, I think. I really miss the kids. You miss your wife too. Just admit it. I chuckled a bit. I do. I miss the wife I used to know, not the one who's made mistakes. They're the same person, unfortunately. She's my daughter, Honor. Please don't call her that. Just say she made a mistake. I'm sorry, Carol. You're right. I shouldn't have said that. I'm still a bit upset, I guess. Maybe I need some more time. I can't believe it happened. I thought she loved me. She does. I don't think we'll ever know what she was thinking. She's driving all that way to see someone who's supposed to help her understand things. I don't like the idea of that. I laughed lightly. It's how these things go. No one seems to take responsibility anymore, right? She made her choice. Somehow, it has to be my fault too. My sister thinks it's all on me. Let them think that. I'm not innocent. I did leave her alone. I wish I had known that traveling would lead to this kind of outcome. I would have chosen another way. She chuckled back. It's good to hear you laugh a bit. I'm sorry. I really don't know what went wrong. I wouldn't have imagined this could happen. It's not your fault, Carol. You and Dave raised us well. This is all on her, and maybe on me too. Not you. You did nothing wrong. I think everyone sees that now. Promise me you won't take too long. I can't leave until you get here, and Dave is getting tired of fast food. Soon. I wanted to do more things, but I think I'll hold off for now. I'm still young. Those chances will still be there. You're a good man, Honor. I know you'll do the right thing. We'll all be waiting for you. I'll do the right thing. That's what Dad used to say. I couldn't help but think that this advice might have led to my current troubles. Soon, Carol. Please send my love to the kids. It took me 3 days to travel. While in the Caymans, I swam with the stingrays and used my new scuba license. I also opened 2 new bank accounts, moved some of my money around, and deposited my check. I wouldn't have to worry about money for a while. I flew back to Miami, opened a new bank account, and transferred in a large sum of money. The IRS would want its share. I then rode back to New York, stopping for 3 days in D.C. to see the museums, visit the monuments, and check out Arlington Cemetery. I thought about how it might be nice to have a marker for my marriage. Lost in the line of duty. Then I went off to meet with the lawyers and my accountant. My taxes were going to be complicated. I sent a text to Carol. I had a new phone, a big Android device, almost the size of a paperback book. Along with a 12-inch tablet, it kept me connected to everything. It was much better than a laptop. Soon, was all I wrote. I spent 2 days getting my taxes sorted. Writing a check felt good and relieved some stress. It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. But then again, I was paying good money to my assistants to help me. It had only been 6 weeks, but it felt much longer. I had lost a few pounds if my belt notches meant anything, and I hadn't shaved or cut my hair the whole time. I was definitely looking rough. I no longer looked like a polished president and CEO. I looked like someone who belonged on a motorcycle. I rode into town and went to the diner. I was a bit surprised that no one recognized me. It was nice to be a stranger and enjoy a meal in peace. After lunch, I visited my cousin Bev at her real estate office. She greeted me as if I were just some dirt on her shoe. It felt refreshing. I'm looking for a small place, close to downtown, 3 bedrooms and at least a 2-car garage. I'll buy it with cash. I was no longer just dirt. I felt like a gem. She showed me 5 homes. The first one she showed me was the best. I made a full-price offer if I could move in right away. The house was empty, and the owners were eager. They weren't even related to me, which was a nice surprise. After we looked at the fourth house, and while we were finalizing the details, Bev started looking at me strangely. We were sitting at the table filling out the papers when she suddenly looked up. "Honor?" I smiled. "Yes, Bev?" "Oh my gosh, Honor, everyone has been so worried about you. Where have you been?" "Just around, trying to clear my mind. Went for a ride. It took a bit longer than I expected." "Are you really back? For good? You're going to fix everything, right?" "I'm back. I'm not sure for how long, but I am buying a house. As for fixing things, I'm not sure." She smiled at me. "You're back. That's the important part right now. I know you'll do what's right. You always do." "The right thing? Sure." "We'll see," was all I said. The truth is, I was really tired of always doing what others thought was right. By 7 p.m., I had given $5,000 as a deposit and received the keys to my new house. The contracts would be finalized in a few days. I knew my phone would be ringing off the hook, so I made a call. "Hello? Honor, is that you?" "Hi, BB, I'm back in town." "Where are you? Why aren't you here?" "Where's here?" I asked. "Our house. Come home, Honor, please." "I can't just yet. I want to visit, though. I'd like to see my kids." "Of course. Anytime you want. Right now is good. They'll be up for at least another hour." "No, tomorrow works better. When is a good time for you?" "I leave for the office at 8 in the morning. You can come over any time if you want. Mom is here with me, so just let me know when you can stop by. I'd really like to see you." "I think I would like that too. We need to talk." "Will you stay for dinner?" "That sounds nice. I have some things to do in the morning, but I can come by after lunch if your mom knows." "That would be great. Thank you so much. I love you. I hope that's okay to say." "It is okay. I love you too. Our lives feel pretty messy, don't they?" I heard her crying. "I know. I hate it. I messed everything up. You're going to help fix things, right?" "I'm not sure yet. I'm still figuring things out, but I really want to see you." "Have you called your mom? She needs some support." "No, not yet. I'm not ready for that talk. Maybe soon." She was quiet for a moment. "Say something else, please." I laughed a little. "What do you want me to say?" "Just talk. Share anything. What you've been doing. Where you went. I just want to hear your voice." "I missed you, BB. I did a lot of things I wanted to do. Things I thought we would do together. But I did them alone. It gave me time to think, and I hated that you weren't there with me. I'm not blaming you. I just want you to know how I felt. Everything I did reminded me that it wasn't the same without you. I didn't get involved with anyone else. I'm a married man, and I wouldn't do that. You know that." "I know, but we're legally separated. I thought you might take that chance. I wouldn't blame you if you did." "Is that why you think we got separated? So I could go out and date someone?" "No, but it's been over a month. You might meet someone new. Just to let you know, I didn't meet anyone or date. I won't make that mistake again." "I wasn't going to ask," I told her. "I love hearing your voice. You sound better. You were so upset before." "I was. That's why I needed to get away. I'm not completely over it, but I think I'm improving." "I understand. I didn't get it at first. Dad talked to me last week. He sounds like you did. I think I heard him a lot. You were always his little girl. You were Daddy's favorite. Until I became Honor's girl." I laughed. "You were his girl first. You'll always be his, and that's okay. He'll forgive you." "Will you forgive me, Honor?" "I'll try. I could say the words, but it wouldn't feel true in my heart. I never want to lie to you. Even if I could forgive you, it wouldn't fix everything, and I'm not sure if I can ever forget what happened between us. I don't know how to rebuild trust or respect. The faithfulness is gone for good. I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't keep saying it. It sounds silly to me too, but I can't help it. I'm sorry, Honor. I love you. Can you tell me you love me again? I love you, BB. I always have. I'll never love anyone else like I loved you. I don't know if that's enough, but we have to start somewhere. Please bring me something of yours tomorrow." "Something?" "Something that smells like you. I didn't wash your clothes after you left. I used to sleep with your shirts to feel close to you, but they don't smell like you anymore. I could close my eyes and pretend you were here, that everything was all right, but it's not helping. I can't sleep at all. Please bring me something. Maybe that shirt you have on now." "I don't have much. I usually just get new clothes when the old ones are worn out. Oh no, that's awful. I would have paid anything to have you send those home. That's so sad. I need to go, BB. I'll see you tomorrow, okay? Can you stay just a little longer? Please. Tell me you love me. Tell me you'll try to forgive me. Do you remember how you took me out when you were in college? I was just a young girl, and you treated me so well. Do you remember that first night we shared a bed? I snuck in and you held me and kissed me. It felt special. I knew then it was like a dream come true. You were always meant to be mine. Do you remember? I remember everything. I've thought about it so many times. That first night when I realized I loved you, and I always would. When we went to prom and everything changed. The day we got married and you teased me about being late, I remember it all. But I also remember some harder things. Those memories just won't fade away. They still trouble me at night. You love me, though. She said it nervously. Yes, I love you. I hope that one day I can truly say I forgive you. I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Think of me tonight, Honor. Of happy things, no nightmares. Imagine our honeymoon or those fun lunches when I worked for you. I'll try. Please say goodnight to the kids for me. Do you have to go? For now. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night, BB. Good night, Honor. Thank you for this. It really helps. I needed it. I spent the morning shopping for furniture. My house was empty and needed to feel like home. I found a salesperson and walked through the store pointing out what I wanted. In less than an hour, I had filled 2 bedrooms, the living room and the dining room. For a high price, they agreed to deliver everything that same day. I signed the papers, gave the surprised salesperson a key, and asked him to have the delivery team set it up wherever it made sense. He seemed a bit unsure, but managed to find a good solution. He called a home decorator who agreed to take care of the delivery and help with the rest for a high fee. Luann was sure she could make the place look nice. She asked about bedding, linens, kitchen utensils, dishes, and cutlery, all the things I needed for everyday life. I'll need 3 days, she said. I'll start today with the basics and ask for your thoughts. I'll leave some catalogs you can look at to see what you like. By the day after tomorrow, I'll have everything ready for you. She smiled happily. I enjoy these kinds of projects. Can I use you as a reference and take some photos before and after? Sure, I replied. Feel free. I don't need anything too fancy, but I like things comfortable. 1 bedroom is off limits, as is the garage. Other than that, go ahead and do what makes sense. Budget? A rough idea? I have no idea. What would something like this usually cost? Without original art, antiques, or special items, we can probably do most everything for under $20,000. It was quite a lot of money, but I thought it was worth it. Make it nice. Does $40,000 sound reasonable to you? Do I need to pay you in advance or give you a deposit? Do you have a credit card number I can use? That will cover most of it. I gave her my number, hoping it wouldn't be a mistake, as I had only just met her. I didn't want to worry the kids, so I stopped at a barber shop and got a trim for my beard and hair. I looked better now, with a neat appearance. I bought new jeans and a shirt, chuckling to myself as I put my old clothes in a bag. Beth was strange. It dawned on me that this was one of the few times in the past month that I could think of her and smile instead of feeling angry. Maybe that was progress. The drive back to town made me jittery. I was eager to see the kids and excited to chat with Carol. I felt uncertain about dinner with Beth, which seemed like a good idea when we talked the night before. As I pulled onto the property, I noticed that the mess I had made looked much better. There was a carport in place of the garage, and a blue 4-door car was parked there. The driveway had been redone, and if you didn't know what it had looked like before, you might not have guessed. I parked next to the car, took off my helmet, and tried to fix my hair a little in the mirror. I left my helmet and jacket on the bike and knocked on the door. My mother-in-law, Carol, greeted me with a hug. It's so good to see you, Honor. Thank you for coming. The kids are in the playroom. You look great, I said to her. She smiled shyly. It's nice to be around the kids and have something to do. They sure keep me busy, I said with a chuckle. You've lost some weight, she noticed. Really? Does it show? It does. We should get Dave up here or you back home before all the guys start noticing you. She laughed. I think it's a bit late for that. It seems like they don't see many new faces in town. If I were single, I'd never eat alone. Be careful. There are some guys around here who don't care if a woman is married. More than a few, really. Now that I think about it, the whole town is like that. Her smile faded. Honor, your mom keeps calling. I have a feeling she's going to show up at the door. I didn't invite her, but your being here isn't a secret. What should I do? I shrugged. I'll need to talk to her eventually. If she comes, just let her in. We can have a conversation. If she acts up, I'll find a way to leave. No, please don't leave, no matter what happens. I'll handle her if I have to. Just promise me you won't go before dinner. I hugged her tightly. Okay, I can't promise, but I'll try my best. She nodded, taking my hand. Your kids are waiting. Do you need me to get the papers that prove they're yours? No, I trust you. She pulled me into the playroom, and as soon as my daughter saw me, she rushed over. Daddy! I sat on the floor, and Billy hesitated at first. He came closer slowly. My girl started tugging at my beard and laughed. You're so fuzzy. I nodded. She gave a hard pull and frowned. No more trips, Daddy. This was the worst. Okay, sweet girl, I'll try to take fewer trips. She tugged my beard again, almost making me tear up. No more trips ever. For a 4-year-old, she had very strong feelings. She reminded me so much of her mom, it was tough. I can't promise that, sweetheart, but if I do have to go, I'll call you. We can even see each other on the computer, okay? Are you going to make everything better? Mommy cries a lot now. You have to help her stop crying. I'll do my best, darling. Billy was walking a bit better. He stood up and stumbled toward me. I caught him and hugged him, resting my face in his hair. I realized I might be a little silly like BB. I played with them for a couple of hours, and Carol joined us now and then. We only talked about the kids. Around mid-afternoon, Carol told me it was nap time and that the kids had a schedule. We took them to their room, and I read to them for about 10 minutes until they fell asleep. I kissed each of them and closed the door gently. Carol sat down with me in the living room, and I poured us a couple of beers. She laughed and said, These kids are driving me to drink. I'd have a drink about once a week at home, but now it's a daytime beer and a nighttime drink. The calories don't seem to bother you, I joked. She was a stunning woman, just like Beth, which reminded me of what I had lost. She laughed and moved closer to me on the couch. She leaned against me, and I casually put my arm around her. They are great kids, she said. I know. I can't wait to spend more time with them. Want to share what you're up to now? You can keep it to yourself if you like. Later, okay? I'm still figuring things out. Are you moving back? I chuckled a bit. Let's talk about that later. What's happening with you? She cuddled up to me, sipping her beer. It's a mess, but you probably guessed that. I expected it. I hoped things wouldn't get bad for a while. Maybe they could manage it. They're talking layoffs. The business is struggling. Many people are unhappy and blame Beth. She's working hard, putting in long hours. I don't think she realized how much you had to do. What's Fred up to? She hesitated. I'll let her explain if that's all right. Are they still together? Oh no, she can't stand him. She doesn't have time for distractions. It's all work for her, except maybe an hour a day with the kids. She leaned over and kissed my cheek. Your call last night was like a lifeline for someone in trouble. Thank you. She hurt me, Carol, I admitted, feeling a tightness in my chest and tears stinging my eyes. She wrapped her arms around me and pulled me close. She gently ran her fingers through my hair. I know, dear. I let her hold me as I cried for the first time. I sobbed while she embraced and rocked me. It felt comforting. It's going to be all right, Honor, she whispered. I shook my head, my voice trembling. I don't think so. Not ever again. She broke my heart. She held me tightly, resting her head against mine. She kissed my forehead softly. It will get better, sweetie. It won't be the same, but it will improve. How could she do that? I don't know. I think she had a hard time after having Billy. It all started a few months after he was born. It's not an excuse, but many women struggle after giving birth. I had my moments after Beth. It can be really tough. I was lying sideways on the couch with my head in her lap. She squeezed me gently and pulled me closer. When she sat up, I felt a bit awkward as she was leaning against me. Carol? You might want to sit back a little. She looked down at me and playfully shifted, teasingly nudging me. What's the matter, Honor? It's been a while for me, I confessed. She chuckled and squeezed me again. You really are always so honorable, aren't you? Am I bothering you? Bothering isn't quite the word I'd choose. Carol shifted back, touching my side gently. I bet you've never been unfaithful. Not even once. Not after everything that happened, right? I'm still married. Being with her felt nice. I lay back and looked at her. You know I couldn't. She nodded and leaned down to give me a soft kiss. I know. Even if I took off my shirt, you wouldn't do anything, would you? I laughed. Not at all. I would think about it, maybe even imagine it, but I wouldn't act on it. Carol was playfully pushing the boundaries, her hand moving lightly over my shirt. She had it all. What a fool. I had a lot too, I reminded her. She nodded. Did you ever think about me, Honor? I felt my face get warm. What do you think? Carol smiled. When? I laughed. I guess from the moment I learned about love. You were always so attractive, a grown version of my first love. She leaned back on the couch, and all I could see was her silhouette. I don't mean to tease you, honey. I just miss having someone to hold and talk to. It's not even the romance, it's the closeness. Do you understand? 6 weeks alone, Carol. I understand. I sat up and pulled her gently into my lap. Her head lay on the couch, and I stroked her hair softly. My other hand rested on her stomach, comforting her. She had been in my life forever. She was like a second mother to me. A reminder of good times. Someone I could trust. There were very few people like that. She sighed. You both were great together. From the beginning. The way you cared for her and how she looked up to you. It was so sweet. Her eyes were closed as she reminisced. Her arm rested against me, her hand gently stroking my shoulder and back. Just then, my mother walked in. She paused a moment in surprise when she saw us. What's happening here? She asked sharply. I held a finger to my lips. The kids are napping. Carol and I are just remembering old times. Is that proper? She questioned. Was it proper for me to comfort you in your bed when you were upset after losing Dad? I didn't remind her how vulnerable she had been. Her mouth dropped open. That's different. We're just talking, Mom. I thought that's why you came over uninvited. She looked a bit annoyed, but then smiled. At least you called me Mother. I hope you're done with the Mrs. Nolan nonsense. Carol sat up slowly and moved a few feet back on the couch. Do you want me to leave? She asked. Do you want some time alone? I shook my head. I'm still very upset with you, Mom. You really hurt me. She nodded sadly. I understand. I didn't think things through. I thought I was helping you. I wanted to save your marriage. I nodded back. I know, but I'm your son. You covered for her while she was with other men. How could you do that? She moved closer and wrapped her arms around me. You hurt me too. I've never felt pain like this before. It felt even worse than when I lost your father. That was hard, but I knew he was in danger, and I had you to support me. Losing you was my fault, and I felt all alone. Nobody was there for me. As if her pain was the same as mine. Everyone let me down. I did everything for them, and they all turned away from me, even my own family. It felt like the whole world was against me. You don't know what it's like to feel alone, Mom. I'm sorry. You never lost me. You can't. You're still my boy. You pushed me away because of one mistake. I was trying to protect you from being hurt. I'm your mother, and that's what I'm supposed to do. If I could have stopped her, if she hadn't lied about being finished with it, we could have been happy again. I had to try. No, Mom, you made a big mistake. If you had come to me when she first started acting in a way that was wrong, maybe I could have done something. We could have talked about it, figured things out. You never gave us that chance. Even after the first time, you had a chance to tell me. One mistake could have been forgiven. She shook her head. You know it's not that simple. You see everything in black and white. We all have to meet your standards. Once you lose trust, it's hard to get back. We thought keeping it from you was the best choice. So you let it get to this point. This is better? Instead of stopping it after the first time, you let it continue, even bringing in others. You allowed her to betray me time and again. Now I don't trust you or anyone else in this town. How is this a better choice? Mom shook her head again. It wasn't meant to happen. You weren't supposed to find out. You supported her. She was unfaithful and you helped her. I don't know how I'm supposed to move on from this. I didn't push you away, Mom. You chose her, leaving me with nothing. You're right. I see things as right or wrong. You chose wrongly. You chose betrayal instead of loyalty. You picked someone else over your own son. You've lost my trust. Everyone has. You've broken our bond, and I can't see how it can be fixed. I hate what you did more than you understand. I thought I knew you. I thought you loved me. Now it feels like you're a stranger, someone I can't trust or respect. That's what you've done to us. She cried, holding me tightly. I'm sorry, sweetheart. I did it for you. I promise I did. I would do anything to make you happy. I just have one question. If Dad were here and he knew, would you have helped her? Would he have agreed? She stayed silent. She couldn't speak. We both understood the truth. I carefully lifted her to the side, freeing her arms. I need to step away for a moment. I'm feeling upset right now. I need a few minutes. She cried harder. You're not going to keep running away from me, are you? I can't take it, please. I leaned over and kissed her forehead. No, I'll give you my number. You're my mother, and I can't forget that. I just don't feel good about you right now, and I'm not sure I can trust you again. What we had is gone. I need some time. I turned to leave, and Carol ran after me. You'll return? You promised. I said I'd try. Part of that is taking a break before I lose my cool. I'll be back. I hopped on my bike, leaving my helmet and jacket behind for now. I know it was unwise, but I was shaking with anger. My mother still believed she was doing what was right, my own mother. I sped down the road more quickly than I had in weeks. I loved the sound of the engine, the feeling of the wind against my face. I felt free and could leave if I needed to. I could choose to stay, but I didn't have to. That thought kept me grounded as I zipped past familiar cars. Then I heard the siren and couldn't help but laugh at my luck. I glanced in the mirror and saw the flashing lights. I pulled over and waited. The sheriff approached slowly. License and registration. Honor? Hi, Uncle Luke. Son, you were going over 90? Sorry about that. I just had a talk with Mom. He nodded. Blowing off some steam, huh? Better than causing more trouble? I swung my leg over the bike and leaned against it, facing him. How come you never pulled me over before? He looked surprised. You're family, boy. My brother's son. After he passed, I felt responsible. You should understand that. We take care of family. And what good did that do me? He put his notebook away. It's not about getting something back. We do it because it's the right thing to do, because we can. He took off his hat and rubbed his head. I noticed his hair was thinning. I wondered if Dad's would have looked like that. He continued. Sometimes we make mistakes. I let you down and I regret it. We all should have done more, but I could have acted. I could have kept that bad person away from you. I messed up. You're my brother's only son, and I failed you. He put his hat back on and stood tall. I won't let that happen again. So don't take unnecessary risks on these roads, understand? I smiled. Yes, sir. Okay. Are you back for good? I'm not sure. Maybe. Are you going to tell me how to make things right? Forgive her and everyone else? Absolutely not. You are a better person than I could ever be. You'll do what's right. You always do. I wish I could say that. How is she, Uncle Luke? He smiled sadly. She's getting better. Working helps her a lot. When she lost you, it felt like she lost everything. No one wants to be around her. She can't move on from what happened. Many people in town blame her. She's trying hard to help them, but it's really tough. She's a lovely woman, but no man dares to talk to her because of what others think. It must be hard for her, but she keeps going. Her mom is a good person. It's hard to believe she raised someone who made such mistakes. Hearing him call her that hurt me. I didn't know why. I had said it many times before. Please don't call her that, Uncle Luke. He nodded. I know you care for her. What she did was wrong. I understand. It still hurts to hear it. I get that. Are you doing okay with work? I laughed a bit. Yeah, it's hard to deny that. He patted my head, and for a moment I felt young again. Be careful, okay? When you get upset, don't hold it in. Talk to me and we can go practice shooting. Sure, Uncle Luke. I thought I was improving, but Mom... I know. Women can be confusing sometimes. I heard his radio go off, but I couldn't understand what was said. I guessed he had learned to listen closely over the years. Oh no, Zach is causing trouble again. I have to go. It was good to see you back. Remember, I'm here if you need anything. Thanks, I'll reach out. He started jogging back to his car. Do that, he called back. Mom was gone and the kids were awake. I joined them while Carol began getting dinner ready. She checked on me now and then as if I couldn't care for my own kids. I had thought about taking them away, maybe to another country. I had enough money to go for a while. I had some things I invented that were worth more than I had sold before, and another idea that could be worth a lot too. But it didn't feel right. I might be upset with my wife, but she had always been a good mother. Better than I had been, if I was honest. I wanted to change that. I was building a tower of blocks with Marie when I heard my name. Honor? I didn't turn around. Hi, Beth. I felt her hug me and I stiffened. Thank you for coming back, she whispered. I'm here for the kids, Beth. That's what's important now. I didn't push her away, but I didn't pull her closer either. Eventually, she let go. I'm going to change clothes now. Maybe we can chat later. Okay. I heard her walk away. Will Mommy cry again? Marie asked. I'm not sure, sweetheart. I hope not. You should stop her, Daddy. As if it were that easy. Carol came in to take care of the kids, keeping them out from underfoot. I've got this. She's in the living room. Please be gentle with her, okay? For me? I can't make promises, Carol. Sorry. Just try, that's all I'm asking. Her hopes are so high right now. Please be kind to her. I didn't really have to do anything. All right, I'll try. For you and for the kids. I walked back to the living room and she was sitting there waiting nervously. On the couch. That couch. I can't explain it. I don't know why it didn't bother me before, but now it hit me hard. The image of her was vivid in my mind. I turned away. I couldn't stand to see her there. What's wrong, Honor? She asked quietly. What did I do? I need to go outside, I told her, trying to calm my anger. I nearly ran to the door and soon stepped outside. I almost jumped on my bike and left. Beth followed me. Honor, please don't go. Talk to me. What did I do? I couldn't face her. This was bad. I needed more time. I wanted to talk, Beth. I did. I wanted to sit down and sort things out, but it's just too much. Seeing you on that couch, the place where everything happened. I turned away from her, feeling sick. I heard her crying, and looking back, I saw her rush inside, the screen door closing behind her. The mother of my children was in tears, and all I felt was anger. I wanted to shake her, to make her understand. She had broken me, destroyed everything I was. I went to my bike, put on my helmet and jacket, and started it up. As I pulled away, both Beth and Carol were coming out of the house. I sped off. Honor? Honor! 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 I had just one small bag that I had carried for most of the last month. I had given away the tent and sleeping bag after my hike. Inside were a change of shoes, a shirt, and pants. A couple of pairs of boxers. I had my tablet, my phone, my wallet, and my guitar, which was looking a bit worn. Just a small bag with my toiletries. How much does a man really need? As long as he had a working debit card. I didn't stop until I reached Beantown. I found a room and faced my bad dreams. She was on the couch, surrounded by my colleagues who were laughing at me. As they finished, they walked by me and I gave each of them a check. My mom was by her side, giving out vouchers to decide who got to take part. Sometimes she'd look at me and say, I'm doing this for you, sweetheart. I'm trying to protect you. After each time, Beth would smile and say, I love you, Honor. It's just this once. I couldn't understand why there was a dancing bear in the corner. Even my dreams were strange. The next morning I made some calls and found Ben from college. Thinking of him brought mixed feelings. He had been a good friend, but he was also the one who lent me his car, which helped me get close to Beth. I reached out to him, and he agreed to meet me for a drink. While waiting, I decided to sort out some things. I called Luann, my decorator. Hey, Honor, she said. The place is coming along nicely. You forgot to mark the catalogs for me. I'm sorry. I had to leave town unexpectedly. Please go ahead with whatever you think is best. Send me the invoice and I'll get you a check, okay? You don't want to see it first? I can't right now. Thanks for handling everything. I was getting lazy about decisions. Just lock up when you're done and put the keys under the back door mat. She laughed. No way. I'll get a hideaway rock for the garden and place the key there. It will be under the azalea plant on the left side of the entrance. The security code is the last 4 digits of my phone number to make it easy for you. Perfect. I really appreciate your help. I'll call if I think of anything else. What's your email? She asked. I realized I couldn't use my business email. I'll text it to you tomorrow. Better yet, email me. You have my card. It's on there. I checked my wallet and she was right. Great. Thank you again. I have to go. Next, I called the one person who had said sorry after everyone had let me down. Uncle Jimmy? Honor, I hear you're back in town. That's good news. Not really. I tried, but it's too soon. I'm sorry to hear that. Can I help you with anything? I'm glad you asked. First, I want to say that everything is forgiven. Thank you for talking to me that day at the diner. You're the only one from the company who has ever apologized or explained things, even more than my mom or sister did. Thanks, he replied. But I think if you stayed a bit longer, you might hear more apologies. Sure, now that they think they need me, it's too late for that. I need to ask you for a big favor. Anything you want, he said quickly. Not so fast. Listen first, okay? Of course. What do you need? This has to stay between us. Nobody can know. I hate to put you in this position, but I don't want to deal with it right now. I'm not doing anything wrong, and I'm not ashamed. I just need some time alone. Can you agree to that? Can I tell Jean? I chuckled. You'll have to, but no one else? Understood. I need someone to help me with some tasks in town. If Aunt Jean is still available, I'd like her to assist me. I'm sure she would. Can I get her on the phone? That would be perfect. If I forget to mention it later, thanks. I spoke with Aunt John for a few minutes. She was nervous about the job, but she accepted. I'd cover her phone, and she would be my personal assistant. She would manage a checking account and handle bills, appointments, and other tasks like managing the house deal and making sure the checks went to my mother. I informed her I'd send her a limited power of attorney for my property and banking. I'd pay her $800 a month to start. It'll take a couple of days. I need you to open a bank account in our names and send me the routing number so I can deposit money. I'm not sure how often I'll reach out, and it might be for various things. Some could become tricky. Of course, Honor. Thank you for trusting me. I'm sorry I didn't make Jim talk to you. Maybe that could have avoided some things. I appreciate it. That's in the past now. Can you help me with this? I'd be happy to. I can never repay you for supporting our boy through school. Take care of yourself, okay? I promised I would, and less than 10 minutes later, I met with Ben. Our visit was nice. It was great to catch up and see what he had been doing. I felt a bit unclear about my own recent past, so I mentioned I had run a business but was taking a break now. Naturally, he asked about Beth, and I admitted we were separated. He offered his apologies and shared about his wife and kids. He seemed happy and was doing well. I felt a bit envious. Talking to Ben felt different from speaking with Roger or Anna. We didn't connect like we used to. Still, it was a nice visit, and I mentioned that we should keep in touch. I stayed at the hotel and used their concierge service. The next day, I met a local attorney to handle my paperwork, a banker from my Miami bank for finances, and a mechanic to tune my bike. A few calls and signatures later, Aunt Jean was set up. My next call was to Dave, my father-in-law. Honor, where have you been? You certainly caused quite a stir. I can imagine. I'm sorry, it was just too soon. I didn't feel ready. I'm back on the road again. What happened? I can't get a clear story from either of them. I didn't want to upset him, but I needed to be honest. I saw the kids and Carol. It was nice. We were all set to have dinner together, and Beth and I planned to talk. When I went to talk to her, she was sitting on the same couch where I had seen her with someone else. Suddenly, all I could think about was the image of her with my best friend, and it hurt too much to bear. I lost control. I needed to leave before I did something I would regret. Wow, she still has that couch. What was she thinking? She should have gotten rid of it, the beds, and any place where this happened. This is so frustrating. He sounded more upset than I was. Are you going to be okay? I think so. I just needed to get away for a bit. I plan to drive for a while. I'll try to keep in touch. I thought I was doing better. Don't say sorry. You're doing your best. I'm not sure I would handle it like that. You're stronger than I am, Honor. But I guess we both knew that. You're a good man. And I'd like to think your dad would be proud of you for all you've done. Not this situation, but the good things you've achieved. Thanks. Let me know if they need anything or if something important comes up. Otherwise, I might be out of touch for a while. Do what you need to do. Take your time. Stay safe. I drove through coastal Maine, visiting some small towns and enjoying fresh lobster from a local coop. I had 2 whole lobsters and the best lobster roll I had ever tasted. I ate until I was full, the best meal I had in at least a month. I stayed close to the coast on Old Route 1, heading for the Bay of Fundy. After spending a few days on tour boats, seeing the Old Sow Whirlpool, Hopewell Rocks, and some fascinating sea caves, I felt ready to move on from this nature-filled experience. While on the tours, I was rarely alone. I often found myself around young couples and families, which reminded me of what I had lost. I spent a lot of time with an older couple who were celebrating their retirement and 40th wedding anniversary. They were friendly and easy to talk to, so I ended up sharing some of my troubles. They didn't give much advice, they mostly listened. I appreciated being able to share my story without feeling overwhelmed. I was sad to say goodbye. I called home twice during the day to avoid talking to Beth. I may have been a bit short with Carol, rushing the conversation and focusing on speaking with my kids and telling them about my trips. It was hard each time I hung up. Aunt Jean was busy and very helpful. She took care of Mom's monthly check and closed up the house. She also sent Beth flowers with an apology for how I had left so suddenly. That was her idea, not mine. But I didn't complain too much. She only wanted to help. A day later, I was on Prince Edward Island. For a fair price, much better than my recent adventures, I got set up with golf clubs and took some lessons. For a week, I discovered that I wasn't a very good golfer, even on some of the best courses in North America. It was a good experience for me, meeting new people twice a day and spending hours trying to hit a little white ball. The countryside was lovely, and I liked staying in local bed and breakfasts instead of regular hotels. The owners were friendly, and I spent some evenings on the porch playing the guitar and sharing my story. It was surprising how easy it was to talk to strangers. I still held back a bit, but I shared more about my life with them than I had with anyone except my mother and sister Beth. I began to understand the appeal of golf. Beyond the beautiful views, calm mornings, and enjoyable company, it was about that one great shot. I hit a 5-iron onto a par 3 green by chance, and the ball ended up just 2 feet from the hole. I got a birdie, one of only 3 times I played under par that week. I thought I might finally be getting the hang of it. I became excited about it. I had the clubs sent to Aunt Jean, and she stored them in my garage. She also found my truck in the business parking lot, got new keys made, cleaned it up, and parked it in my garage. She was a bit nosy, but well-meaning. She told me she had filled my kitchen cabinets with food. She even hired someone to take care of the yard, so Luann received payment. Thanks to Aunt Jean, my sister Peggy received a birthday card and a day at the spa. That was kind of her. I sometimes felt like giving her a playful warning. She was still my little sister, after all, and her comment that nobody liked me bothered me, especially her saying that Beth was more family than I was. Carol got a new iPad from me, set up with Skype. Aunt Jean was upset with me for not talking to my daughter enough. She was right, and I felt guilty about it. From then on, every day at 2 p.m., no matter what, I logged into Skype to talk with my kids. Carol knew it was a private call. The first time Beth appeared while I was talking, I quickly hung up. After that, even when she was home, Beth let me have my 15 minutes to talk. I shared pictures of my trips on Flickr, and Carol showed them to Marie. Before leaving Prince Edward Island, I called Carol. "Hi, Honor. How are you?" "Better. I apologize for leaving so suddenly." "Dave explained. I'm sorry. Things are better here, I promise. Can you come home?" Carol sounded desperate. "Not yet. Clearly, I wasn't ready. The first trip, I spent all my time alone. This time, I'm socializing a bit and trying to feel like myself again. I think it might take a little longer." "The pictures are lovely." They always make Beth cry when she sees the places that should have belonged to us together. I don't want that to happen. It's for Marie and Billy. I want them to remember me. I never meant for them to belong to anyone else. I know. It's just how it goes. The flowers were nice. That helped. I didn't tell her I had nothing to do with it. I just wanted to check in. How are things going? She's feeling a bit better. It was really tough the first few days after you left. Business is still a mess. Can you help at all? Maybe. I'll think about it. I'm not sure I really want to. No one at that company stood up for me. Not a single person. I paid them only for them to turn their backs on me. It makes me so angry thinking about how many knew what was happening but didn't say anything. What about the others? she asked. "Isn't there a way to help them?" "They're probably just pretending. Most likely they knew and were scared to say anything. Maybe I was being a bit harsh." Carol was quiet for a moment. "Honor, I know it's a lot to ask, but could you say hi to her? You don't have to talk about anything serious. Just saying hello would mean a lot. Do it for me? She's my baby, and it hurts to see her down." I wasn't sure if I was ready, but I thought I'd try. "Sure, Carol. If she's there, let me speak to her." A few seconds later, I heard her voice, that voice that still made me feel something. "Honor, it's me." "Hi, BB. I'm sorry for leaving suddenly. I didn't mean to." I could hear her getting emotional. "Don't apologize. You came back. I got to see you, even if just for a moment. I don't even think you meant to, but you left your shirt in that bag. Thank you." "I honestly tried, Beth. I need some more time." "I understand. I'll be here. Take as long as you need." She sniffled. "I'm sorry about everything. I feel awful. It did make for a big fire, but Uncle Dan gave me a hard time until I explained. Then he and the fire department helped me with the guest bed. That was all, Honor. Just the couch and that bed. We weren't using ours, I promise. I'm getting a new one anyway, but I wanted you to know that." I felt tightness in my chest. "I can't talk about this, Beth. I have to go. I get it. I'm sorry for bringing it up. I love you, Honor, more than anything." It was hard to say it back, my voice breaking. "I love you too, BB." I hung up. I knew it was true. Her words couldn't hurt me so deeply unless I still cared for her. I hated that part of me. It was a tough moment. I thought I was moving forward, but the next day I had dark thoughts. I rode angrily through Nova Scotia and ended up in Sydney, waiting for the ferry to Newfoundland. For a few $100s, I got a spot on a ferry, loaded my motorcycle, and spent about 7 hours on the water. I liked the quiet and enjoyed looking out at the sea. We saw some whales, dolphins, and what I think were flying fish. I had family in St. John's, and before I got on the ferry, I asked Aunt Jean to find out as much as she could. I spoke with the kids early because I would be out on the water and might not have internet access. I told them I would be hard to reach for a few days, but promised to share lots of pictures when I arrived in St. John's. Marie was upset. "Daddy, Mommy is sad again. Why can't you make her feel better?" I didn't know what to say. "I'm trying, sweetheart. It's just going to take some time, okay? When you come home, you'll fix it then? I'll try my best." "Good. Come home. Come home now." She was very strong-willed. "Soon, sweetheart. I can't come home yet, but I'll do my best to come home soon." "No, Daddy, come home now," she insisted, with the strong determination that only a child can have. It took almost the entire call to help her understand it would take a little longer. It hurt me to tell her no, but I didn't want to go back and face more troubles. The ferry I chose dropped me off on the opposite side of the island, but I liked that. It also let me off near a place I had been curious about since I was young. I was fascinated by Newfoundland dogs. Ever since I read about Nana in Peter Pan, I was interested in them. I had read about Seaman, the mascot of Lewis and Clark, and Sergeant Gander, a Newfoundland dog from World War II who was recognized for his bravery. I didn't remember where I first heard about Harry Man, the Newfoundland dog that helped save many lives near Isle aux Morts, but that story stuck with me. In 1828, Anne Harvey and her father were fishing when they spotted something floating in the rough seas. They figured a shipwreck had happened nearby, so 17-year-old Anne, her father George, her 12-year-old brother Tom, and their dog, Harry Man, set out in their small boat. They found 6 men who had made it to a nearby beach and went to look for more. On a small island, later known as Wreck Rock, they found a larger group. The waters were too risky to get closer, so they tossed a piece of wood, which the survivors tied a rope to. After that, they sent Harry Man to bring back the wood and help rescue someone. He did this many times. The seas were so rough and the weather was terrible that 5 more people passed away on that island before everyone else was saved. 30 had died before the Harveys arrived. 10 more survived only a short time after being rescued. From the Sunday morning when they were found until Tuesday morning, 163 people were saved. Little Anne Harvey and Harry Man became famous stories. I went for a visit and found myself walking down Harvey Trail, a lovely area covered in green moss, with views of small islands and the rocky coast. I stopped at a local craft shop and bought a copy of Anne and Seamus, a poem that told the tale. I had it wrapped and sent to my daughter. The book tells a story with a young Irishman named Seamus, who helped his friends. It's a story about love, but I couldn't bring myself to read it all. I hoped someday I could without thinking of Beth. In the craft shop, I read a touching message written by Lord Byron for his Newfoundland dog, Boatswain, on the grave in 1808. Beauty without selfishness, strength without arrogance, bravery without cruelty, and all the good things of man without the bad. I thought I could use a friend like that. 2 other lines, explaining the difference between man and dog, really struck me. Your love is selfish, your friendship is a lie, your words are false, your heart is untrue. An ode to my dear Beth, the love of my life, who knows you well must leave you in disgust. Lord Byron hit the nail on the head there. My detour was short, just a few hours, and I continued on to a farther place. It gave me some quiet time while riding, and a long, lonely ride to the northernmost tip of the island brought me to Lance Oak Meadows, an ancient Norse village from around 1000 AD, the oldest confirmed Viking site in North America. Thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe to Infidelity Plus to stay updated with more captivating tales of infidelity and payback. Turn on notifications so you're the first to see our latest content.